All right, what is up, everyone? My name is Speedy. Welcome to NotSoSpeedRuns, and we are here with Blades in the Dark 6 and 20. As you can see, I am a nerd whose glasses are as broken as his dreams. Welcome everyone. Thank you, MadameGandalf, for coming in here with that raid just to start us off. It was wonderful, and the people from Baby's channel as well for joining. Let's go ahead and let's just start things off. Let's go around to our cast and tell us who you are and who you're playing today. Trendane.
You told us to freeze.
You can unfreeze.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, everyone. I am Trendane. At Trendane on Twitter, and I'm playing the part of Hocus, the whisper, like the word wheat, and yeah, it deals with ghosts. Never. Yeah, it's gonna be.
Yeah. There's a lot coming up today. There's a lot that the Shroud did. But yeah, Madame, let's go to you.
My name is MadameGandalf. You may know me as MadameGandalf on many different platforms as MadameGandalf. And
where I'm at.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Madame Gandalf Lee.
What a small world.
Right, it's such a small world that Madame Gandalf is indeed this Madame Gandalf.
Oh my god.
And yes, that shitty fan fiction was
I've never
mine.
seen you two in the same room. It all makes so much sense.
Right? You thought we had you all believing. But now seeing is believing, and there is only one. Yeah, I'm a full-time streamer here on Twitch. You can catch me under Madame Gandalf. And I would now pass that on to Louise.
Why? Hi, my name's Louise. Thanks for the pass on. Yeah, I'm Louise. I am playing Sling today, the Tycosi hound woman who is very much addicted to lore and addicted to forgetting things, and also has a gun, if you were not aware. So I'm very much excited to see how today is going to go.
Also
we have
fan
some
of goats.
surprises in store. Also, fan of goats, can confirm.
And we get an unmade raid at the beginning of our. That's awesome.
Things are going well today.
Yeah.
Yay!
Goating.
Hi, unmade.
We have some choice
Whatever,
words for
you know, Mike.
If that
is
your
your real name.
I'm still not convinced he's real, by the way.
Uh-huh.
It's supposed to meet at PAX, never happened. He just evaded me entirely.
Uh-huh.
I mean, who wouldn't evade you entirely?
I'm glad you got to that before I did.
I just didn't go to PAX at all because I just didn't want to see you. It's not because I live on the other side of the world.
So should we hopscotch back to
Owlbare, yes. Joff, you can tell us.
Fine. Hi, I'm Joff. You may know me from Twitter, where I am Owlbare. That's Owlbare as in naked, not bear as in gur. You may, if you do know me on Twitter, you may have seen me promoting my box of many things. And if you would like to be a part of my box and send something in your box to find me on Twitter. We'll talk. It's fine. Tonight I will be playing the cutter Grin, who is a Scotlander. He's a cutter because he has a big sword, not because he self-mutilates. Anyway.
Oh. Is that it?
I'm down.
Okay.
Great. Okay.
Excellent. And I'm Speedy. As I said, my glasses are as broken as my dreams, but I am playing as Sky, the spider who is a bit vicious in his demeanor. He likes to make ghost contracts with people without letting them know beforehand what they're getting into. And
stellar guy.
Stellar guy. Absolutely no one would ever try and stop working for him.
No.
Just because he's fantastic.
I know. I love it.
Boss of the year.
Yeah. I'll get you like a mug that says that. That's how we'll end season finale. Everything's fine. Here's a boss mug.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, that is us, the cast. Before I turn things over to the DM, I just want to say this is a collaboration between 3 Twitch channels. It is between myself, VideoStoreCowboy, the DM, and Mike over at Unmade Gaming, who just raided us with a fantastic Unmade raid. If you didn't see the Shrouds episode last night, this campaign is being run in the same world, 2 channels, with Mike's crew taking some very serious steps, which Johnny will go into in just a minute. But absolutely, if you haven't already, go follow Unmade Gaming so you can see the other side of the story. And with that, I'll turn things over to Johnny so he can recap for us that.
That would be your cue, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was muted. I apologize, guys.
Sure.
Hey,
sure.
pro streamer, Cast Track pro streamer. So I want to get into what happened on the Shroud last night because it had such a significant impact and probably will have repercussions for both crews. I do want to talk a bit briefly. Previously, we had an episode on Tuesday, which was a makeup episode. And I want to talk a little bit about the spinning of wheels that happened based on some misinformation or some badly heard information that Hocus brought to the crew. Hocus, would you like to talk about how you guys spent probably an hour to an hour and a half spinning wheels?
No.
We don't live in the past here.
We already
Johnny.
spent an hour and a half talking about it then. We don't need to waste more time recapping it.
I was just kind of hoping just a little bit of a blurb.
We don't
'Cause it
live in
was
the
funny.
past here. We look towards the future. We move on from our mistakes.
You might. But anyway, no, I can do that, if only to prevent people from having to go back and watch the video on Twitch, which still has the demons in it. So, and will have to be edited out by Speedy. So basically what
I've recruited
happened
someone else.
is that through my sort of a mix of not paying enough attention and misremembering, this glorious fuck right here decided, okay, let's mix in the metagame. We'll just fold it in like making cookie dough. And we'll just fold it in, and Hocus shows up with this rumor that he heard during the course of his business day as a courier. And that information was a little bit incorrect and led to this spiraling out of, oh my God, we should do this. We should do that. We should totally do this. And when we went to try and do that, it was like, wait, that's not right. And I was like, oh, okay, shit.
But it
And
got
then,
better.
then we did some fucking amazing stuff despite.
Yes, fuck you, Shroud.
Yeah.
Don't accept my application.
Whoa.
Still,
So
please accept my application to the Shroud. Please. Thank you. See you
So
next
the
week.
reason I wanted the recap, a little bit of a recap, and to touch on that very specifically is because that was actually some really great RP by you guys, and I just wanted to highlight that again. Even though you were spinning your wheels and you successfully did something and kind of screwed over the Shroud anyways afterwards, that was some great RP, and I just want to highlight that it was a good job, and that I love what you guys did there, because all along with that, you moved on to what was an actual score, which was a social engagement to build a relationship with Norfolk Shipping Company, thus screwing up the Shroud and their attempt to help the Foghounds capture a shipment of Leviathan blood that was being brought in by the Norfolk Company. So that was an incredibly powerful moment because it did affect what they did last night. They had a meeting with both they talked to the Lampblacks and they talked to the Hive. Both of those factions had some awareness of what was going on with the Leviathan shipment. Both of them had decided that they would get involved with the Shroud to do in their plan for whatever it is that they were going to plan to do. But regardless, it made it incredibly difficult for them to move and just execute a score. So it was a really brilliant move, and in a roundabout kind of a way. But so the results of that score, that second score, no, it was the first score. Sorry, it was the first score.
I was going to help, but then I didn't want to.
Well, that's okay. You're more than welcome to help because I imagine that you're pretty burned by what happened during downtime, aren't you, Ari? So
I'm sure
downtime for
she's
them
fine.
was downtime for them was really interesting, and we wouldn't usually go and recap what's going on the other show with any significance, except it had a direct impact on what's about to happen in this episode. So, long story short, Nyx decided to have OC go out and find Clav. Now, Clav had previously worked for OC and had divulged not too terribly much information, but just enough to Ari to be a little bit of a concern. And Ari had given Clav a lot of enthusiasm and confidence in himself, thus bolstering who he was as a person. Well, Clav was fired, went off onto the streets. OC was able to find him and bring him in so that Nyx could have a conversation with him. And that conversation ended up in a beating and subsequent murder of Clav as Nyx's mechanical indulgence of his vice. But the death wasn't the vice. The death was an intentional action that happened afterwards. Subsequently, Nyx then prepared the body and dropped it on the doorstep of Donovan's. So now, along with everything else that's gone on, in pot shots back and forth, you now have a dead body basically sitting on your doorstep at Donovan's. A body of somebody who Ari was intimately aware of, had a conversation with, and I think there was a little bit of there was more than just like it was just more than a connection. It was like there was like a concern or a caring for that particular character. And you can correct me if I'm wrong.
No, what I'm thinking is, did she not also, you can answer this, acquire him as an asset?
I did.
She started to, yes.
He became an asset. Basically, I kind of felt like a mentor. Yeah, and
Right.
he was my mentee.
It's a really good thing you didn't choose to upgrade
Speaking of
him
tea,
last
PG
time,
tips.
isn't it?
Yeah, such a great choice to not upgrade him. Fantastic choice. I'm great at this.
So you also hadn't used him as an asset yet. So I mean, it was really still something that was
very
essentially a
short-lived.
fresh, a fresh relationship. So while I want to get to the resolution of that, I believe you guys were at the end of a score, and doing downtime was going to be the next steps. So if it comes up in downtime actions, I definitely want to incorporate it. But otherwise, I think that's kind of a free play kind of a thing. So if you guys don't mind, we'll quickly move through downtime actions if you guys don't have too terribly much, and then we'll get to the meat of the story.
Yep.
Sounds
right.
good.
Yep.
Okay, who wants to go first? Oh, wait, wait a minute. We did payoff, but we didn't do heat and entanglements.
No, we didn't.
We did not.
Okay. All right, so let's start with heat. It was a social engagement, so there wasn't a tremendous amount of exposure. So I'm going to say that it went smooth and quiet, and especially given the fact that you got a crit on I think it was the consort roll that you had. I'm going to say it's completely low exposure, so there was zero heat from the base scale. Because it was a high-profile target, because they were, while they're not a faction, they would be considered as faction at like the tier 4 level. It's definitely considered a high-value target or a high-profile target. So we're going to say that you guys generated 1 heat from that score. So that will just drop into your heat scale.
I got it.
All right. Now for entanglements, what is your current level of heat?
4. I was
Okay,
actually going to suggest, is having a body dropped on our doorstep kind of like an entanglement?
It could be.
I'm just, it seems like.
Do you want to? I mean,
it depends on.
It's an interesting way to deal with the entanglement situation. It's a guaranteed, oh shit, what the fuck are we going to do now kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm okay if the rest of the table is okay of just taking that as the entanglement versus, rolling on a table.
I'm good with it.
I like the idea.
Yeah. Works for
Especially
me.
because it'll happen regardless of whether or not we roll on the table.
Yeah.
Right. And it also brings it back to the forefront of what's going on.
Right.
right now, and allows you. But so here's the one thing about doing it as an entanglement, and I love the idea of it. There is not an easily definable mechanical benefit or mechanical step that you can take to clear up this entanglement. So unlike everything else, you can't just pay 1 rep and 1 coin and have it go away, because it was such a significant action. So if we decide to do it this way, we should come up with a way for you to define how you're going to deal. Like need to be some mechanical action that we take as a part of this.
Can we feed him to the goat?
I didn't think that goats were like pigs, but okay, sure.
Well, these are
Just
dust
question.
I don't think that's the solution. There are bigger problems than just the presence of the actual physical body.
Yeah, like how are we going to feed the goats? I got my priorities right, guys. You guys need to get on board.
Would the dire
It's
pug
true,
eat the
we
goat?
did put you in charge of like looking
You
after
did put me in charge of the goat.
So you are
Dire
making
pug-
sure that
dire-
goat is well looked after.
The dire pug could eat the goat, but it would take him 3 weeks to do it.
It's a
That
dire
pug
pug.
will do anything.
He's giant.
He's a giant pug.
He's a giant
Anyway,
pug.
back to the game.
He's- Okay, so can anybody think of a mechanic? Well, okay. I really think that the more I think about this, it's still a significant story element. So I really think that you guys should take a different entanglement,
Okay,
and we should play it. We should play it in
Okay.
free time
that's fine.
or free play. Okay.
Let's roll.
So let me go ahead and roll real quickly on the entanglement chart. So 1d6. Okay, reprisals are unquiet dead. Now this actually may have some interesting impact on the body on your. So
I wonder
reprisals,
who's
right?
died recently and wouldn't be too quiet about it. I can't think of anybody. We'll have to choose the other one.
So reprisals, enemy faction moves against you. Actually, this just happened. Pay 1 point or cure. So okay, all right. The more I think about this, again, the more it makes sense that that the body is the entanglement, and there will be a mechanical benefit that you'll pay for, but you have to role play it out.
Okay.
In some way, because in both cases, both of these entanglements, reprisal is an enemy faction moves against you, or you deal with a spirit of some kind, and both of those are going to happen regardless, in some way, shape, or form, coming off of this body.
It's just a matter of how mechanically we deal with it for the entanglement part.
Right. So if Hocus wants to deal with the unquiet dead aspect of it, we can play it that way. If you want to just dispose of the body by paying a rep or a coin, we can just do it that way. But then I still want you guys to RP out the situation when you discover the body.
Okay.
Which would you prefer to do? It's your choice.
My first question is in regard to timing. When is this happening relative to our meeting with North Hook? So we left North Hook, heading back to presumably Donovan's. How long after that does the body get dropped off?
Well, in my mind, it would have happened sometime after downtime, right? It would have happened sometime after the results of the score. Given the timing, given the fact that you guys want to use this as your entanglement, maybe what happens is that you arrive back at Donovan's. There's a bit of revelry, or maybe there's a post-deal conversation that happens, and then you hear the body being slumped, being essentially
Mike's
thrown against the door.
saying he would have done it 2 days after our meeting.
I'm going to say, because it would have had to have had time for our meeting with North Hook, for the information from that to travel out, for the Marines to go from, what did you say, was like a dozen to 40, and then for information, because they discussed that with
20 to 40.
Right, 20 to 40.
So, yes, it would have. There would have been a significant. Yeah, this is where tracking time becomes really interesting. So yes, okay, let's call it 2 days, and then it's I mean, it's the kind of thing where the body is. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. So it's 2 days after. Who wants to discover it? Let's just call it that.
I guess the most dramatic person to discover it
would be Ari.
Would be Sky.
Be Sky. I mean, I'm happy. Okay. Ari is heading over to Donovan's, treating it just like a regular, everyday, not suspecting a single thing. She gets to the doorstep and she sees this slumped over body on the step, and she just steps over it, going, oh, and then opens the door and enters in as per usual, not realizing its significance at all.
Do you mention it as you walk in? I mean,
oh, is anybody already there?
I don't know. Is anybody else there?
Way, I'd say she's coming over.
Because you guys, I mean, this is essentially the time that you would have spread out after a score. So, who's there, guys? I mean, this is really on all of you.
Grin would be at the Devil's Tooth.
Sling's not there because she doesn't like being there, so she'll be on her way.
Ari's always late, so I'm just going to assume that most people are already there.
If it's later in the afternoon, then Hocus could have gotten done with his stuff early and be heading over.
Sky would probably be the first person there still, though.
So Sky's in Donovan's, and Ari walks in. Is that what?
Yep. She's going to like have a kind of a gross look, like, ugh.
Something wrong, Donald?
Somebody left a body outside. I don't know whether you want to see to it. And
what?
She sits over and sits on her usual barrel where she just sits and does her nails.
What? He immediately runs around the counter and out the front door, sees the body, and he looks up to the sky to look for like any sign of the Death Seeker crows.
You definitely hear them in the distance.
Shit.
You hear the distant cawing of the crows. Only a couple right now.
Okay. All right. He quickly grabs the body by the arms and he drags it inside, and he said, "All right, help me with this."
Who's typing?
It's probably Louise.
No.
Hello?
So, Ari? Hello? Can you hear me?
Sorry. Yes, I can hear you. So, who was it? Anyone you know? Looks young.
Well, I pull in the body into Donovan's. By the way, I don't know if you caught this conversation, Johnny, but because of the arcane locks, we assume that the Deathseeker crows wouldn't be able to find it after we drag it inside. Same way they can't find my sister.
So the Deathseeker crows specifically are okay. Let's in my mind, this is what I see. The Deathseeker crows are specifically about the bodies of the recently dead. So the spectral, paranormal upgrade to me seems like it would protect anything. It would protect, for example, anything that was protect against anything that would be able to get in from or be able to see. I don't know, because on the one hand, there's the argument that it protecting the body and the manifestation of the spirit, should the spirit come out, and the process the body is going through as the spirit begins to extract itself from the body for whatever reason, whatever that process is, that seems like it would generate a lot of essentially activity on that, in the ghost field and then in the spectrum and everything. And my understanding is that the Deathseeker crows really kind of see into that in between of the ghost field, and that's, it's almost like a smell or something that the way they actually sense it, but that they would be able to determine where that activity was regardless. That being said, that's a pretty good argument for having that secure level 2. So I'm going to leave it up to the table. What do you guys think is more story driven and interesting?
I really like the idea. I mean, considering I think we had talked about it before, as we wanted the arcane locks in order so they couldn't find my sister hidden in the basement.
Yeah.
And so I think that it would hold true for this as well.
I like that.
Okay.
If everyone else is good with that.
Yeah, I'm working out from this, thinking like with things like when you're playing D&D, your characters are getting up there in level, and as you get higher and higher in level and you're becoming more and more powerful and more heroes, your characters are like a completely different thing from like everybody else in the world. Like there aren't any other people, well, almost no other people that are this powerful. And that's why you're heroes. And so in a similar way, I find myself wondering, how common are these arcane locks? I mean, are they just all over the place? Do people intentionally,
I like it when you do that. Go ahead. Let's hear that.
Right.
What's going on below the desk there?
Sorry. Remember what I said about there are things that we shouldn't have drunken Hocus oversharing? This is one of them. So I want to back up for a minute, and instead of going, I want to go, Hocus. Okay, now I can say it.
Hocus.
Exactly. Thank you so much. The what I was thinking is that maybe there are plenty of other places like cults who put these arcane locks on there to prevent people that they are planning to sacrifice, whenever or people that they are planning to raise, pull their discorporate their spirit from their bodies, that they can put these arcane locks on. And so that the Deathseeker crows lose track of whatever's going on. You move that body back out again, immediately the crows are like, okay, got it, it's back. So maybe they lose track of what they're looking for, and they just spread out because they know it's still there, but they don't know where it is. And so they just kind of go into a free-form search until they lock onto it again or are called back.
Okay. And so when thinking about the mechanics of how it would work, that's exactly how I thought about it in my head. If the arcane locks were going to work, is that it would diffuse the signal, whatever that signal is, in some way, sort of that it's confusing enough that they're going to be in the area still. With that in mind, I have one question I want to ask you guys that alludes back to the process of it, and I want you guys to be the determining factor in this, and we'll set that as the precedent. What is it about the death that the Deathseeker crows are looking for? Is it a particular smell? Is it the activity of the spirit rising from the body that is the attraction, and there's some resonance either in the ghost field or not? Is it the fact that there is a silence because of the dead body in this spectrum of the world?
I kind of see it as the second one. It's like a ripple, like if you throw like a stone into water and that's that ripple effect. It's like something changes in that ghost field, and the crow seekers, they can sense that, they attune to that, and that's what they look for.
I like the idea of that it's an absence, that ripple leaves in its wake nothing. That's what they see, is it's an absence of life.
Mm-hmm.
And then gradually, as the spirit discorporates, it's like the spirit is waking up without the body, and that takes a little while, unless you're in Uduasha, and then it doesn't take any time at all. And you're gone. Yes.
So it is the rippling silence that attracts the Deathseeker crows, and then the subsequent disembodiment of the spirit is its own separate event, essentially, in that sequence of.
Because
Is that what
if it happens naturally, it takes a while, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if not through the process of some arcane or Sparkrite technology, Sparkrite works, however you want to think about it, is not actively extracting. And by extracting, the book describes it as submerging a physical form into ectoplasm, raw ectoplasm, which could be Leviathan blood or some other distillation that's continuing to process. And basically what that does is it draws out the spirit, and that spirit becomes the energy in whatever form, a plasma or what have you. But it describes it very specifically that it's an active element of dissolving the body in something. So to me, if it happens naturally, it's a very gradual process. The book actually describes it, I think, as 24 to 48 hours for the spirit to extract itself from the body.
Unless you're in Uduasha, yes.
Yes. And then it happens immediately.
Yeah.
Okay, so with all of that in mind, you would know that by pulling the body inside and closing the door on Donovan's, it would seal off this. It would seal off the signal, essentially, or the resonance of silence, or the lack. That hole, essentially, in the otherwise vibrating and resonant world that the Deathseeker crows are going after, and it would diffuse it. So the crows, when you close the door, you hear the crows were getting closer, and they don't get any closer after that. You can hear the occasional cawing in the distance, but the body has now been brought inside, and so it's laid out on the floor.
Yeah, I take the body, I drag it in, I kick it. I turn it over so you can see the face, and I say, "Who in the hell's that?"
Well, it's wrapped.
This can't be good for business.
I continue rolling it out until it's completely out. The face is free.
As you unroll the wrapping on the face, around the face, you see the almost perfectly preserved shape, look, however you want to describe it, however you want to think about it, of Clav. There you go. Of Clav.
His stunning
what you
blue
can
eyes
see
now cold.
Well, you can see that his skin has started to yellow, and his body is cold and it's rigid, and you see bruises, not on the face, but they start at the neck of what you've exposed, and you can see that the bruises kind of go down under the cloth, under his onto his chest, and towards his shoulders.
I'm not laughing about that. I'm laughing about Rip Aldo too. Sorry, go ahead.
You know this guy, Ari?
You could say that. I'm gonna fucking kill him. This is a message. This isn't just a simple body on the doorstep that's gonna be bad for the business. We have to do something about this.
All right. Well, step one. Who was this kid?
And Hocus steps in. What's going on?
Got a special delivery in today, Hocus. Not one we asked for, mind you. I already found this line on our doorstep.
It's Clav. He worked for OC. I gave him a few tips on how to be a better man of the night. thought he was out of there. I thought he had finally gotten free of that place with all its fucking rules and its stupid people.
So this is OC's doing. Shit.
OC wouldn't do this. The most OC would have done is the thing that she always does, manipulate and lie to get her way. That's what she taught all of us. This is somebody else.
Hocus, you got something to say?
Hocus is going to just barely dip into the ghost field and see if the spirit is still in there.
All right.
Mr. Ghostman, what are you doing?
I'm not going to have you attune this because I like the idea of playing this out more narratively. But I am going to give you a pointer in a certain direction.
Okay.
The body is starting to go incredibly cold and rigid. So in my mind, that's the spirit beginning to extract itself. So why don't you go ahead and describe what that looks like as the in-between state when you dip into the ghost field.
This how long would we say that? No, this how familiar are any of you with passing through the veil through the black mirror from one world into the next? Let's presume none. This particular individual is on a more spiritual level, I believe, beginning to wake. We may not have a great deal of time before he decides to begin making his presence. Is this why the crows are singing so loudly outside?
Imagine so.
Shit.
We got him inside.
Yes, we have him inside. What are we going to do with him now?
Well, if we want to do anything about this, we need to know what happened to him. You said it wasn't OC, then we need to know who. Hocus, I know it's not what you like to do, but...
Wait.
Please. This isn't a word that comes out of my mouth often. Normally everything's being handed to me, so just please.
Would it not possibly be better for you to just ask your people out there? I'm sure somebody must have seen. If someone drops off a dead body on someone's doorstep, somebody's got to see it.
We can look.
It's your shop, Sky. It's your shop.
We can look. I can ask around.
That will take time. Take time we don't have. I don't even have my mask here. It's at my apartment.
What kind of thing do we need to do? Do we sit around and do some sort of voodoo witchcraft? What do we need to do?
Effectively, yes. Effectively, I call him.
How long do we have?
As it stands right now, given the condition of the body, the stiffness is beginning to loosen. I mean, while that only pertains to the physical form, the spirit will come forth shortly thereafter, but I would estimate perhaps probably no more than 3 or 4 hours at best.
How long does it take you to do what you do? To have a conversation?
Minutes.
All right. Well, okay. We've got a couple hours. I'm going to ask around. I'm going to see what people know as quickly as I can, and then we, if we're lucky, might have the right questions to ask, if we don't already. Hocus, I know this isn't what you want to do, but it's something we have to do. I'm counting on you. You got time.
How long does it usually take to get across Dustbowl to...
That depends on how much coin you're willing to spend, or how much, silver you're willing to spend.
We have swift goats.
You can take the goat.
Oh, the goat!
It's true.
Just enough to get over to Hocus's apartment, get the mask, and come in.
Well, I imagine you want your lightning hook too, but that's just me.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, narratively speaking, I think it's the kind of thing that would fall right into the situation. I want to ask one quick question, and I just want to confirm that this is the way it's being handled mechanically. Your entanglement is going to be unquiet dead.
Got it.
And no, I'm asking that's the case, and that
No.
that Hocus will be dealing with that as a part of whatever. Like
Yeah.
he'll be dealing with the situation. Okay. All right. Cool. All right. So yes, you would be able to get across town and back, probably within a couple of hours to deal with it. And the body is, while it's cold, it's in its transition state. So it's not like the spirit has completely extracted itself. It's just beginning to. So you know that you have a little bit of time. You have, in my head, you have more than enough time to be able to get there and get back and do what you need to do.
And in that time, while Hocus is running back and forth on a swift goat, Grin and Sling show up.
Friend squad. We're here.
Quickly shut the door behind you.
Yeah, boss, yeah.
What's going on?
Got a problem.
Grin stares at the body. Huh.
That would be it.
Oh,
You see it?
I mean, that's new.
Why, Sky, why do you have a body?
Don't look at me.
Special delivery
We didn't kill this one, did we?
for once.
Not that I know of.
Hey, Ari, you all right?
You do have a gun.
I'm fine. There's just been some ghostly things happening.
I mean, there is a dead. Yeah. So what are we gonna do about it?
Well, we've got a couple hours before Hocus gets back to try and ask this ghost some questions. Till then, I need you guys to make sure... Well, I need... Grin, I want you to stay here. Make sure no one comes in. Anyone knocks on the door, you make them go away. All right?
Grin nods. Grin takes up position by the door.
Sling, I want you to help me ask around town, so try and figure out who saw what. You know some of the more streetwise folks around here. I can ask a few of the businesses.
Got it, boss.
All right, let's go. Ari, you just stay here. We'll be back soon.
Yeah, we'll find whoever the what. We'll do it.
And in the meantime, you can have some of this. Shows you his fine bottle of whiskey.
Oh. Oh.
Ari stays quiet, but she does convey, hopefully, through her eyes with her eye contact with Sky, that she deeply appreciates this gesture and even the condolences.
Yeah, he looks you in the eye for like a brief second and then quickly looks away, trying not to seem like he cares too much. All right, let's go. So Sling and I go out and start asking questions. I know there's a few neighboring shops around. I head in, ask them if they had anyone on the night shift or working late hours.
Nobody. So the body was delivered during the night period of time. So there wasn't really very many people on the street because, at least, and you can tell me if I get this incorrectly in your head, but in my head, Donovan's is located probably on a street where there's a bunch of other wholesale vendors of very specific types. Like you deal in food stuff, right? And maybe somebody else deals in kitchen or cleaning supplies of some kind, or the tools of keeping a house, kind of a thing. So the body was delivered when you guys were officially closed, and so most of the other shops and mostly that street probably was not frequented because of that. So as you knock on doors, you start to ask around a little bit. You get a bunch of basically negative responses that leave you with the sense of, number one, nobody saw anything, and number two, nobody put two and two together that there's something nefarious going on with Donovan's.
Okay.
Sling's gonna do the same, but with the kind of people that she knows on the streets itself, like the kind of the homeless, the denizens, the people that are usually drunk, passed out in that area. Anyone that she would have recognized from when she spent that time pretending to be homeless.
Oh, interesting. Okay, because if you're asking the homeless,
Nix, to be fair, when he dropped off the body, was disguised, so they would have no qualms about betraying him because they wouldn't know it was him.
Right, but Nix also has, the Shroud also has a Rook network made up of homeless people.
Right.
So they may be cautious about anybody asking questions anyways.
Okay.
Because they if you paid attention to what Nix has done to the Rooks when they screw up in the past, he beats the living hell out of them.
We know that now.
Yeah.
We learned our lesson the hard way.
Cloud wasn't a part of that Rook network, so maybe not.
He was like your Rook.
It shows that he was willing to do anything. I don't know why I went Scottish, but yes.
So that interaction probably, I'm gonna roll a fortune roll on this because I think that there is a competing factor then of the Shroud's Rook network being homeless and you kind of wandering around and asking all of those questions. I don't think there's not a definitive role for you to make that I think would
we have that connection, I used to be homeless, they're homeless.
Right, which is why I think it's the kind of thing that's kind of up to chance in this particular case. You might find somebody who actually would talk to you, and then that would actually present a problem for Nix, and Nix would probably beat the hell out of him.
Is every single homeless person in the city part of
No, but network? So little known fact, probably by the Phantom, Donovan's is located in the Shroud's turf.
Okay. There's still a chance that there is some homeless person who doesn't even know who they are.
Right, but anybody who would have seen it that loiters around Donovan's is probably going to be connected to the Shroud in some way in their Rook network. So that's why I want to leave it up to chance.
Okay.
So let me go ahead and jump over to Roll20. So it's going to be 1d6 for sheer luck. I'm going to add an additional d6 because of that time that you spent on the street. Kind of building relationships and talking to, doing that whole thing. Does anybody else have any ideas for positive or negative traits that might have a factor in this?
The only other positive trait that I can think of, which I had discussed with these guys before the show, was that.
Well, thanks for not including me. Jeez.
You weren't there.
You weren't there yet.
You're absolutely right. Sorry.
Was that Nick said very specifically when you asked what preparations he was going to take, was he going to take any? He got a GIMP mask from OC, and that was all he did. So that means that very fine jacket that he covets so dearly, and any other pieces of articles of clothing might possibly stand out, especially since Sky.
He did hide the guy liner. Let's be honest. He hid the guy
He
liner.
hid the guy liner, so it could be anybody in the
It's a
city.
mask, but
There's only one man that wears guy liner as well as Nix.
Sky's already received at least a partial description of him, correct?
Right. I've gotten a
Oh
description of that
my
outfit.
God.
Yes, he does.
Oh, I like what you're thinking, and I hope this succeeds because I know how I'm going to play it out. I'm so excited now about how this. Okay, so that's another positive trait that you have a description, a possible description, or that a description could possibly be there. So another +1.
Can with fortune rolls, can I push it? Is there
With
a
fortune
way?
rolls, you can definitely push it.
Yeah, I'm gonna push.
So God, I will
Push
say
it.
this: you should push it. Okay, yeah. Let's go ahead and you're going to take 2 stress for doing that,
I will.
and we're going to add
I'll do so
additional
gladly.
die.
Narratively, it makes sense for Sling as well, because although she has a gun and doesn't mind people dying, she can tell that this guy didn't deserve it, and that doesn't sit well with her.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, she seems like a righteous person. So I totally agree with that. I am going to add 1 negative trait to this and bring it back to a 3d6 because there was
I knew that was
literally
coming.
there was literally nobody on the street, and he took steps to make sure that he was not seen.
Yes, he did.
When he described it. So that's going to stand as a negative trait. I'm not saying that he didn't get seen, but I want to acknowledge the fact that when he narrated the how he was doing this, that he took those steps. All right, so we're going to call this 3d6 unless anybody else has any other things to add to it.
Sounds good to me.
Got any positives?
No,
Okay,
it's just negatives.
Let's roll.
I mean, my special ability would have actually been good in this situation, but I am just staying.
You're
in the
drinking.
morning and drinking silently.
What special ability would have been had an impact in this?
Both looking into a mirror, the being able to tell when people are lying, and the trust in me. If I wanted to try and get information from anybody in particular, the whole you get an extra 1d versus a target whom you have an intimate relationship.
I don't think you have an intimate relationship with those people, unfortunately.
Not with those
Well,
people.
fortunately.
Unfortunately.
I'm
but,
glad you don't.
We have an intimate relationship. We're best friends, me and Ari. We do everything
Exactly.
together. We have an intimate
I even
relationship.
follow her to
She
bars.
stalks
It's
me.
great.
It's
I
really
do.
nice.
It's really great. That's the best of friends. Friends who
Yeah.
stalk together.
Stay together.
together.
Can that be the next 6 and 20 shirt?
Those who stalk together stay together.
Oh, I love it.
Hashtag PG tips.
This is how we wind up spending an hour.
This is it. Okay.
Jesus Christ.
Right, the game.
Okay.
Anyway,
So, no, I'm not. I don't think that either of those directly apply, especially since you're not wandering around with her doing that. So,
yeah.
given that circumstance, the roll is going to stand as it is.
Can my surveying help? I'm really trying here. I'm really trying.
Clearly.
I mean, I could hunt for information. I could study. I could survey even.
Now,
I could prowl.
I really want this to succeed. Is it possible for me to get a fortune roll for like the merchants, just in case? Because there are some people who sell more valuable things. They might have a night watchman or something who might have seen something.
Rather than okay, all right. So
They're really trying.
This is actually something that I think is mechanically interesting to talk about real quick. Consequence and negative rolls or failures is a huge part of the way that the game plays, because you have to deal with those negative consequences. I'm inclined to let it stand for that reason. However, and not have not have Sky make a fortune roll. However, this is such a direct connection between the two. So I'm going to be okay with Sky rolling something, because there's that this whole thing. But I am going to let this particular roll stand, without adding an additional die for your hunt or anything else. For the simple reason that, from a narrative perspective, this presents a really interesting situation. You go out there, you think you've built relationships, but you're getting absolutely nothing. In fact, as you're kind of going out and you're talking to the various homeless, you see one of them sneak off after you have a conversation with them.
Great, that's fine. I mean, it's not like they were also looking for me. This is fine. I see no problems that will arise from this situation.
Okay.
See you next week, Nix.
Pretty much. All right. So go ahead and we're going to start with 1d6 for your Sky, for your fortune roll, to talk about engaging the merchants. What positive traits do you think factor into this?
So I think the fact that I, live and work in the night market, these people know me at least somewhat. We may not talk all the time, but they're at least familiar with my face. Kind of have like a neighborly relationship, so they would be willing to talk about these things. I would also say that if any of them do have a night watchman, that they are someone who's not just like a homeless person, like happening to catch something going on. They're intently looking for anyone suspicious going around. And so they would have actually like taken note of it, and therefore probably told the person working there in the day.
Okay, so that, I mean, given additional precautions or additional security, sure, that might be an argument. I can see that being an argument for an additional die. Okay, so additional precautions for merchants, we'll call that. Can anybody else think of another positive?
If I were there, could I assist?
No, because you're doing your own thing.
Damn, okay.
Anybody else?
Trying to think of things. I have my my spider ability that gives me +1d when gathering information for a score. Well, I guess that's for concert rolls. Well, it could be a score.
Okay, well, hold on a second.
It's for concert rolls though, so not for fortune. It doesn't.
Right, but also hold on a second. We're still dealing with an entanglement. We haven't even gotten to downtime.
You're right.
Yeah, this is not.
All right, let's just.
So if you want to do that, if you want to treat that as a fact-finding mission and use that as like information gathering as that type of score, I'm all about that. And in fact, given the way that Sling's roll just went, and the fact that a negative consequence just happened, I know exactly what the Shroud's going to do next week. So you may want to preemptively, take some action there.
Maybe we should, Sky.
That's metagame. That's not, the Phantom knowing that what's going on just yet.
Right, but to be fair, the way we want to do this mechanically is also kind of metagame.
You are absolutely right. There is a certain level to it. In respect to how you guys are going out and looking for information while you're waiting for Hocus to come back. And a lot of this could be considered a score in that respect, because a lot of these actions that you guys are taking right now are downtime. But I think because there's such a narratively strong element to you attempting to do this, I like where we're going with it right now. So I again would argue that if we're gonna do that, let's take this fortune roll and see where it leaves you, and then you can make a decision as to whether you want to continue with that as a score or not afterwards.
Okay.
But so again, 1d6 for sheer luck, another d6 for the merchants and their the precautions they might take for the securing their goods in the night market. Anything else?
I think that's all.
You guys really should try to come up with another one.
The fact again that I have a visual description of him.
You have a visual description of who?
Of Nix from before. The fact that
how do you know? How do you have?
Well, I don't know. It's the same person. You're right.
Exactly. So,
but I mean, It factored in for her.
How did it factor in for her?
Wasn't that one of the D6 that she got?
No.
Oh.
So she got the initial D6 for sheer luck. Second one because she built up a relationship out there. The third one
homies.
Was
I pushed myself.
Oh, right. Well, I said already.
Push yourself.
I'll push myself. Also, my relationship with the merchants in the area.
Devil's bargain.
Right,
Sorry,
but
what was that?
But
Devil's
so you
bargain.
Sorry.
Hold on a second, guys. Hold on a second. So you can either get 1d6. So you're asking for a d6 for their security precautions and for your relationship with the merchants in the area.
Mm-hmm.
They seem pretty closely tied. I mean, they really do. I mean, it's like
okay.
What does the rest of the table think about those two? Does he deserve 1 or 2 for those? Because I'm going to leave it up to the table. And you can answer honestly, or you can answer he should get the 2 because you want to make the role successful. It's either or. But I just want to see what the table thinks, and we'll just do that.
Wait, so what are the 2 again? So it's
relationship with the merchants and their presence of security.
It's
They sound
the same. I hate to say it because I want that dice, but it's the same.
Well, let's figure this then.
Wait, so the relationship that you have with the other merchants and the fact that those merchants had security.
Yes.
To me, honestly, they do sound like different things because regardless of your relationship, they do have security anyway.
And regardless of their security.
So, and regardless of their security, you have a relationship.
Now, also knowing that the spirit is still in this body and the crows are looking for it. What is going to be the impact to a business when the spirit wardens show up and start pounding on your door saying give us that body, and customers are like, excuse me, what is going on? So you could further say, I mean, who knows when somebody's going to decide that they're going to put a ghost bomb on your doorstep.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I see where you're going with that from a narrative perspective, but how does that factor into his inquiry with the other merchants?
Well, that is
because he's asking specifically about the body that showed up on Donovan's.
No, well, he's referencing it. Well,
so
we don't want to make it obvious.
My understanding was that he was not saying a thing about the fact that a body showed up on Donovan's doorstep.
Right.
The fact that the crows are cawing is so commonplace, though, when somebody dies, that it's never very clear, what's going on and what the implication is until they begin to circle and get incredibly close to whatever the location is.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, when the Death Crows showed up for the Shroud, when they were in that house trying to rescue Valen, and there were the dead bodies there in the basement, and the crows were pecking at the door. Right, that was an indicator that the spirit wardens were going to be showing up, and that there was probably something, there was something going on there. Right, so. Because of the effects of the lock or the ability of the security, essentially, it's diffused it such that it's not going to be obvious just yet.
Right. Okay. Then never mind. Forget I said that.
Okay.
I would say security and relationship. To me, they seem like different aspects.
Would the fact that he hired someone to drive him there factor in at all?
He paid them extra coin for them.
He paid them.
He paid them extra coin to be silent, but that doesn't mean that other people wouldn't have seen that driver.
So when yes, somebody would have seen that driver, but if you remember the description from last night, he made sure that the driver and the cabbie was far enough away from the Donovan's location that when he showed up, it was just him walking and carrying the body.
Okay.
And he took the same precaution when he exited the Shroud's HQ. So he did. He did intentionally take a number of precautions. Related.
Actually, well, would the fact that all of the merchants around here had seen someone wearing that same outfit, that was where I got the information of his description before, was from him going around and asking people stuff.
Ooh, that's really
Oh.
So all of these
But
merchants
I-
have actually seen Nyx before.
good. So I have to share this, and I hate to burst a bubble here, but I have to share this because Mike's messaging me privately about Nyx.
Mhm.
Is he now? Is he now?
Oh, he would be.
He made sure to share
Classic.
this particular information with me. Nyx did take off his jacket and rings last night and did not put them back on.
Sure, he did. He didn't say it. It's not canon.
He didn't say he put it back on. He did. No, he actually made sure, as a part of his description,
Oh, okay.
to pull off the jacket. and
Oh,
remove one ring
Mike.
at a time.
Yeah.
He was incredibly
You're right.
elaborate.
Right, so forget that
He made a
part.
big deal of that. He made a very big deal of that.
Oh, God, well, forget that part. But either way, I still
Okay,
think
fine.
security
What,
relationship
what
different.
class is Nyx?
Nyx is a spider.
Okay. So we've got. Are we gonna say 1 or 2 bonus dice? Just one?
I'm gonna say. I think the argument has been made that it's 2 bonus dice. So you
Okay.
got.
And I'll
one for
throw in
Sherlock.
pushing myself for 3,
Okay. So that's
and let's roll it.
All right. Fair enough. Let's do this. Ah, get it.
that
Sorry,
that.
that is not the roll. I mean, that is
That
a
is
successful
not a roll.
It's
We
not
can-
quite
we'll-
right.
No,
No.
that is again.
Hold
No.
on.
Again,
I'm being
I
terrible today. I'm being terrible today. I apologize.
Come on, lucky number 6.
Come on. Yes.
6. Yes.
Oh, Mike.
Oh.
Yes. Give me the rolls.
The first thing to go right for Phantom.
Make sure I mark down.
That
what
is
I said.
that is not true at all. Does anybody remember the crit that was scored last time?
That's true. That was very helpful.
That
not
was very good.
It is the first. It is the first one tonight that's gone right for you guys. Okay. I am open to ideas here, and I'm going to tell you why. There is a set of circumstances around this that Mike took specifically when describing it.
Mhm.
So you are not going to get Nyx's name out of this, and you are not more than likely going to get a confirmation that it was the same person walking around asking questions. That
Mhm.
being said, you're going to get a sheer volume of detail about this from somebody that otherwise indicates a lot about Nyx's activity in dropping off the body. So, I'm opening this up to the table. Does anybody have any ideas before I narrate how this all falls apart or how this all comes down? Because I'm still turning this in my head as to the right way, because I did not expect this to be successful, honestly.
Just
You
like
never expect
everything
us to
we do,
succeed.
I was
never
gonna say,
expect
well,
it to be
but-
successful.
Let's put it this way. Last night's game really kind of caught me off guard. I had no idea that was going to happen, just like you guys have done every session since for the last 10 or so sessions, that I've played between the two groups. All that being said, this is the next level of like, sure, I've got to fill in the blanks here. He was incredibly cautious though. So if you don't get his name and you're not going to get the exact description of him, what are you going to get?
Okay, we could get the vaguest of physical descriptions about him.
Oh no. I
The-
think that you can get a lot of physical description about him, just not the fact that you see his face,
Right.
because it's under
Could
again.
we get where the cart perhaps came from or went to afterwards?
Yeah.
Would a curious someone, once seeing this body dropped off, be like, "What's going
Like,
on?"
what is
Yeah,
this
just where did that-
situation?
Well, no, because he had the cart drop him off, and then he
Oh.
left via an alley. He didn't take a cart out.
No,
Anyway,
that's true. Yes.
Could someone have followed
would
him still?
someone, Would someone trail him through that alley?
would they have reason to? I mean, he said
If-
that he left through an alley and took the mask off and went to his meeting with the hive.
Did anybody see him take the mask off? Because he
That's
just,
the
he just
next
walked into an alleyway. He didn't walk off completely and then take it off. He just was like, "Oh, I'm going to pop into this lane."
I'm
off
gonna
the
okay.
Maslows."
So I'm gonna suggest the narrative elements about this, and then I can narrate it, or then I can narrate it based on our decision. But I'm hearing a lot of really good ideas here, and I think there's an element of this where Nyx would still be precautious enough not to remove his mask in a way anywhere in the vicinity. That being said, when he gets out of the cabbie's carriage and begins to carry the body, there is a merchant who has a night watchman who sees it. Sees him carry the body. The person, the night watchman, steps out of that carriage or steps out of that shop, gets a great look at the cabbie, and subsequently follows the person carrying the body, essentially Nyx carrying the body, and sees what happens. And there's a conversation that is had, information and is shared about the body being dumped there between the merchant and the night watchman. But it's not necessarily just revealing, but it's revealing more about the circumstances. And you get a great description of Nyx in this outfit, essentially, with this gimp mask on, and you get a great description of the person that was the cabbie that brought Nyx there. So you've got a couple of different leads, right? Essentially, you've got a description of him out of the jacket, because he didn't change his clothes, he didn't change his demeanor, he just did not wear the jacket. And so you get a description of his physical structure, what he looks like characteristically, his movements and mannerisms without the mask. You also get a lead of, you can talk to this cabbie, find out where he took him, and follow that back to Six Towers metagame wise, and then begin your investigation there about figuring out who dumped Ari's best friend's body.
Would the physical description of him that they give be enough to match it to the one I received before?
Not completely, because Nyx always wears that stupid coat.
Right. Okay.
And when
I
he
was
says
hoping,
stupid coat, Raymond, he doesn't mean stupid.
but I was, and I'll be honest with you, I was hoping that Mike wouldn't bring that up, honestly, and that I could, because then what I was going to do was send you on a wild goose chase after Raymond.
Damn it!
We've had enough wild goose
That would
chases.
be.
Hey, you know what?
I would love to go on a wild goose chase after Raymond.
Connection into the Shroud.
It's not really a wild goose chase if it is still the Shroud, but
it is still a Shroud. Also, Raymond is not as careful as he thinks Powerbomb really is. So let's be honest.
Right.
Yeah.
Good old Powerbomb.
When he says that Raymond is really not as careful, he means it.
So that is the way that is. I mean, and we can elaborate. We can get more details about this, right? Like you will get not only will you get the physical description of what Nyx was wearing outside of that, outside of the coat. You will get a description of any equipment he had on him, right? Because you got a 6, right? You got a large level of detail. This night watchman was good at his job, right? He understood. Nothing.
First thing I say to the merchant that tells me this: why the hell didn't you knock on my door this morning?
Well, there was a body in the way. Oh.
Well, no. So this happened during the nighttime, and you still found the body about the time that it showed up on your doorstep, right?
I found the body when, yeah, I suppose.
When Ari showed
So the night watchman analyzed the situation and went back to his job, because he was protecting
That's
the
fair.
merchant location. So it might have happened the next morning, or after business was conducted or whatever. But by the time you get there, it would have been the shops opening up and that kind of a thing. And so there was no opportunity for them to come and talk to you. So that would be the narrative explanation for that particular question. Because I'm not going to RP some random merchant right now.
Yeah, no, I don't want to go into it. But,
so
okay, let's go with that, and Hocus returns.
Okay, so you've got all that information about Nyx now in his description. Or you've got information about the cabbie. So you know where to follow up on leads. Sling has done her thing. I'm assuming nobody else is taking any particular action at this point?
No.
Okay, so Hocus comes back then. What happens?
You ready, Hocus?
I was going to say, well, I decided to stop for breakfast. I hate doing this. on an empty stomach. I need to have something to regurgitate everywhere. I was in the process of typing something out to Mike, but I'll finish typing it after this.
Stop trading love secrets with him.
They're not secrets. So
yeah, I know, it's obvious.
So Hocus returns already in full whisper care and just takes the goat back to its, not a paddock, back to its stable in the back of the warehouse, and comes in through the back door.
Which upsets Grin because he's like at the front door, like, oh, dang.
And so he walks over and pulls the mask off. All right. And he looks over at Sky and says, may I speak with you for a moment privately?
Of course.
Pull Sky off the side and say, how is your sister going to react to this new guest?
I can't say. I don't know that she would notice. Well, you'd know better than I. I can't say I've ever had another spirit in here.
She will. She will notice.
Then I'll go be with her.
I think you need to be here.
Okay.
Are you certain that she will remain down there? Even if she sits down there screaming for you to come down and pay attention to her, these people won't hear it. But are you certain that she will remain down there?
Down there? No. In Donovan's, yes.
Then you need to be prepared for the possibility that once this happens, once this little interview begins, she may decide she wants to sit in. And that means that while these others may not see her or hear her, it is going to be very difficult for me just dealing with him.
I'll do my best. I can attune just a bit for her sake, if I can help in any way.
Just be prepared for the possibility that the others may find out about her if we do this.
I'm aware.
During this time, Ari has kind of wandered up drunkenly to the body. And you can see she's doing this over the chest. And she's just very quietly, as her fingers are going up, going, itsy bitsy spider crawled up on poison's fig, took a big bite and made his belly big. So say goodbye, my miserable friend, 'cause the itsy bitsy spider will never be hurt again.
Oh.
I hope Mike is watching.
Sling makes that noise. She's just like,
I like your reaction.
Sling's gonna walk forwards very slowly, very cautiously, and just lay a very gentle hand on Ari's shoulder.
Ari's shoulder, okay.
And then kind of try and take her other hand, which is doing the motion, and not lead her away, but stand her up so that Hocus can do his thing. And this is gentle for Sling. This is very gentle.
She takes it very willingly, even if she's stumbling a little bit.
You'll have to teach me that that little ditty one time. It was right nice, but for now, let's Well, let's see what we can do about your friend, yeah?
And Hocus lays a very,
Yeah.
very, very gentle hand on Ari's arm and kind of smiles for just barely smiles for a minute of kind of I'll do my best sort of thing. And then everything, all the emotion just kind of drains away. And he just goes completely cold. And the mask goes on. And then as he begins to attune, the black cracks down the mask begin glowing slightly, and then the blue tears begin running down the thing as he dips deeper in and stands over the body and holds out a hand over it and says, Sorfar maskari ishkar varthus kamask.
What happens?
Well, for them, not much. But if Sky is slightly attuned to the point to watch for his sister, then he might well see a very pale hand come up out of the hand, sort of. You know how when you hard boil an egg and you're pulling the shell off and there's that weird rubbery membrane underneath it that sometimes doesn't come off and you got to kind of peel it back, like sort of like that. It sort of seems like the hand is trying to stay in, like it's not quite ready to come out just yet, and bits of it almost seem to pull off, and then the smoke sort of pulls back in and it coalesces a little bit more and it takes Hocus's hand. And so what they see is Hocus grab a hold of something and like he's helping someone up.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. Has Hocus ever done this before?
No. He was taught the ways of being a whisper by his family for almost his entire life up until about the age of 14. But because of their proximity to the well, he doesn't have a tremendous amount of experience actually dealing with spirits because they're gone so quickly.
Would he have witnessed this then? Would he have witnessed this particular?
He could well have witnessed it, especially with his uncle.
Okay, but this was something that Hocus has never done, even in the time since he came back from Urudasha, yeah, Aruvia, sorry.
Well, yeah, Urudasha is where he lived, but yes,
right.
He would have been taught the chants in Aruvian. He has book knowledge but no experience.
Right. Okay. So, given that, I actually do want you to make one roll on this. I want you to make an attune roll.
Okay.
The position, I think, in this particular case, is definitely going to be risky.
Okay.
Do you have a position upgrade?
I do. I haven't used any of them yet.
Well, if you want to use one of them, this might be a good time to do that.
It would be, yes, I think.
The reason it's risky is because you've never done it before, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you factoring, you throwing one of those at it would factor in the fact that you had so much experience, or you had so much book knowledge and so much, instruction, that you feel incredibly confident, even though you've never actually accomplished this before. The effect, I would argue, is either limited or standard. And as Mike pointed out last night, there are apparently 5 effects now and not 3. So I have to do some research as to what that means inside of Roll20. But it seems like this would be limited to, because it's just the circumstance of bringing the spirit out of the body. But if there's some other creative element or some other thing that you have in your head, I'm curious to see if it's more than that.
Would the Ghost Mind special ability giving me the +1 when gathering information about supernatural stuff, would that apply with this? Or are we not to that yet? We're not to that yet. and probably not strange methods. I'm not inventing.
Well, it might roll into it, but this is about the effect itself. This is not about. I mean, because I think the ghost mind would factor in as an additional D, or an additional die to the roll. So, because if I understand, let me double check the reading of the rules correctly, but I think that's the case. Yes.
For Ghost Mind, it says it says you are always aware of supernatural entities in your presence. Take +1d when you
Gathering information about any means, and that in this particular case, that's when it would apply.
Okay.
It would apply at the additional die
right.
that would be added at the end of the roll.
Not right now. Okay.
Yes.
I've lost my mind. What are we trying to do again? We're trying to decide whether it's standard or limited, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so we know that, or we've gotten into this, knowing that this was something specifically done to get at Ari.
How do you know that?
Wasn't.
I did say it was personal.
She thinks it's personal. Yes.
So my belief would be that it's personal as well.
Okay, then that's the narrative point that I wanted to get to. So yes, if you want to use that as the argument for why it would be standard, then yes, absolutely.
So standard is better than, I guess it would be.
It would be better than.
I'm used to them being incremental, and so it seems in my brain that standard would be the bottom and limited would be better, and then great would be above that. It was like, blah. Okay, that's
yeah, I know. Yeah, I get it.
So standard. Bonus dice.
And then you would get the additional die for Ghost Mind.
Right.
And then if you wanted to push yourself or anything else.
I believe I do.
Okay. So go ahead and take a 2 additional stress and then add an additional die.
Okay.
You want a devil's bargain?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to offer you a devil's bargain. And the results, and if you choose to take it, then regardless of the result, this will happen.
Okay.
You're sure?
What's
So,
the bar?
I mean, sure, he wants to
Yeah.
hear the bargain.
I'm
Yes.
sure. I want to make sure that he wants to hear the bargain before, because I know how protective he is of Hocus.
Sort of protective of Hocus.
Just sort of.
Just vaguely.
Just a tad. Just a tipple.
I personally, I am delighted when bad shit happens to Hocus.
Okay, great.
He's so narratively wonderful.
Okay. Great. No problem at all.
Yes.
An element of your past will come to haunt you.
Oh, that never goes badly. Okay. So
I'm sure that will be fine. Everyone's past here.
Everyone
are
in his
really
past
good.
loves him, though, right? Like,
He was the most popular in his class. You know, things are well for him.
Technically, that could be considered love.
True.
What's love got
Why
to do?
can't we be friends?
Why
one-
can't we?
There is
Nobody
one.
said PG tips in the last 20 minutes, guys.
That's
PG
true.
tips.
PG tips.
Drink
Tea
PG
pot.
tips.
And there is one who doesn't love him. But anyway.
Yes.
I mean,
So an element of your past will
Right.
come back to haunt you.
okay. So that's 3 bonus dice total.
That is correct. You're taking the devil's bargain. Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yep.
This is one of those "are you sure" moments.
He's sure.
Okay.
He's
All right.
definitely more sure.
Trendane is so sure. Hocus is like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Great.
And away we go. Fives.
All right. So the body grows colder as you begin to extract the spirit from its vessel, essentially. And the way that the spirit looks to you is the idyllic version of what the spirit feels it was in physical form. And you know that from the experience of dealing with various spirits and the training that you had, that ideal vision of themselves, the ideal essentially self-image dissolves and deteriorates as the growing madness of hunger for life essence begins to take hold of the spirit. But this is a perfectly, for lack of a better word, happy spirit at this point. It has not begun to feel the hunger for life essence. And so as you pull it out, it is the most idyllic, perfect form of, how old did we say he was? Do you guys, anybody remember?
He was like late teens, early like.
He was
20s,
the same age as
very
me,
young.
I think.
Yeah, I think he was.
He
the
was
same age as Blaine.
17, I think.
Very
Okay,
young.
so the teenage, the idyllic teenage physical form.
So he's Fabio.
And he's also very innocent, just this most pure soul.
Right, exactly. He radiates that purity because the corruption of hunger has not visited his spiritual form yet. And so when you pull him out, he is so innocent he doesn't even really realize what's going on. Right, that was the type of person that he was in life. And when he finally steps out of the final step of being pulled out of his physical form, you see in the ghost field that the resonance that was the physical body just completely diminishes. Right, it's not a negative space, it's just an incredibly dark space. And compared to the radiance of this spirit standing in front of you. And he's awestruck as he looks around, because he's seeing an entirely new world, because the ghost field is very different.
Yeah.
So
Welcome.
You can't see him.
She just yells it anyway.
She's
like,
drunken.
Josh drunken, like, I'm assuming shit's happening, so welcome.
Sling's
You can
gonna
do this, so he's
slowly
gotta be
take
there.
the bottle away.
Yeah,
Put it
that's
on
probably
the
a good
table.
idea.
Was that a lure-laced drug of choice? Because if it was, then she might see in the ghost field.
No, it's just fine. It's just very good whiskey.
Oh, all right, okay.
But
So,
but is Sling currently under the?
Oh damn!
Oh,
Damn! I mean, I'm usually am. It's like I'm usually 99% on drugs.
are you right now?
I'd say I probably would be.
Not being on drugs. You're working.
You give me them.
That's true.
I didn't give you those.
Okay, so with that in mind, I feel like we need an attunement roll from.
Oh great, okay. How do I do an attunement roll? I've never done this.
Click the word attune.
Where is that? Oh, I had nothing in it. So.
I mean, because in this particular case, I think this is the perfect opportunity for Sling to see some really bad shit.
Oh damn! As if I haven't seen enough, as if poor 17-year-old
this is
Sling
when
has
the
not seen
acid
enough.
kicks in.
So, am I looking at risky, controlled? Dare I say desperate?
I think in Sling's mind, because she's done drugs before and because she's quote unquote among friends, I think it's a controlled situation.
Yeah. Oh, I accidentally clicked through the next one. So is it standard or?
I think this is going to have a limited effect too.
Limited. And
Yeah.
I'm going to need
You're
at least
not
one
actually trying to
bonus
do
dice
it.
because I don't have any
you're
points
just
in a tune because otherwise I'm
trying to
just rolling 0.
Well, since I'm going to give you 1d6 specifically because you're such an experienced drug user.
Yeah. The
Finally,
one
comes in
time
handy.
being an addict comes in helpful.
I'm
Don't do drugs, kids. Okay, so I
Do not do drugs. Only drink PG tips.
Any more?
PG tips.
All
Better
right,
than lure.
you get another one for the obligatory PG tips.
Nice. Nice. Would I get
right.
one from like wanting to help Ari? Because this is the first time that Sling's really given a damn about anybody else.
What's the motivation there? I mean, because I could see you wanting to console her because she's in a lot of pain right now, and there's
well, it's just going into like a little bit of Sling's backstory, like this is something that she herself is very familiar with, that feeling of somebody that you care a lot about is dead, and chances are, because it's at your doorstep, it is 100% your fault. And that is something that is sort of the reason that Sling's here at all. The thought that she'd gotten someone killed, which even though she turns out she didn't, but she still went through that trauma, thinking it was completely her fault and having to run away from the entire situation. And now she's here seeing somebody else go through the exact same thing and seeing that the person that's dead didn't deserve that to happen.
Okay.
Well,
It's like
we don't know that.
it's like deja vu in her head, and she regrets so much not doing anything about it then. And she sees this as her chance now to redeem herself for what she did before.
Okay. Yeah, I think the motivation gets complicated in the fact of her drug-induced state, but I think that's an important thing to mention narratively. But otherwise, I think the argument makes a lot of sense given how much she wants to. This is the first time she's showing. I mean, because she's got a relationship with Grin, but it's different than what she's exhibiting with.
It's purely business,
right? For the most part, yeah. So
for the most part.
All right. So I think that's
free.
An additional 2 die, or is that 3 altogether? That's 3 altogether, right?
3 altogether,
right.
yeah.
All right, go for it.
Okay. Woo! I got a 6.
Yes.
I got a 6, ladies and gentlemen.
So in your
Rolls of
drug-induced
stone.
stupor, describe to me what you see when you watch Hocus pulling the body out. And I imagine that, and the ghost field is different for everybody, but I imagine that there's an even different slant for those who get there via lure versus.
Yeah. Everything, I think through lore, everything is a bit askew. Like it's almost as if it's through a delay, like through a tube effect delay. So everything seems a bit echoey and out of place, and it has kind of like maybe like a purplish. So for some reason, I see lore as purple, like a purplish tinge to the entire situation, and it's like lucid dreaming in a way, where you know what's happening, like in her head isn't really happening in the real world, but she's there.
Okay.
It's like it's like very weightless.
This is what you're like when you're shooting.
Oh, shooting with gun. I thought you meant like injecting lure.
Both.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
God.
So you can just jump in at any time that this interaction is happening between Hocus and the spirit that is Clav, with what you see.
I
what
will.
element of it, because Sling's interpretation of what's going on may be entirely different, but because of that 6 roll, you get a clear picture of what's going on. You get a clear sense of whatever the interaction is that Clav is having back with Hocus. You see it as you get as clear a picture as you could under the drugs. So, all right. So Hocus, you've removed Clav's spirit, and he has stepped away from the body, and the body has now since gone essentially cold. What are you doing?
So still holding his hands, and the mask, still very much in place. Welcome to your new life.
He looks at you when you say that, and there's a cocking of the head, and you can see him mouthing, but nothing's coming out yet. He's so new. The elements of physical are still there, and he hasn't figured out how to communicate. Like it's such a new experience. He's got to learn to use his new faculties. But you see from what he's trying to mouth to you, you're able to read enough lips, and you know that this is part of the experience, and you're able to read enough lips that, from what he's saying to get the impression that he's trying to convey something. He's trying to ask you questions about where he is or what's going on. You know, it's clear that he's trying to figure out what's going on because he's so confused. You know, and as the ecstasy of being extracted and the real aspect of his world his new world is beginning to take shape around him, you begin to see that there is a little bit of anxiety kind of crawling across the face.
What I want you to do is I want you to focus upon the sound of my voice. Let yourself breathe in your new way. There is a new rhythm to everything. Take your time. I know things are very strange for you right now. I promise I will help you.
He stops speaking as you begin to speak again, and he takes all of that in and kind of cocks his head a little bit as if he's having trouble hearing you. Again, his senses are beginning to develop and adapt. It's a quick process, you know, from watching the previous experiences with this, but it's still, he's kind of, and what you hear at first from him, the first time that he attempts to speak as he begins to adapt, is you hear almost and I hate to use the description like this, but it's all like a Charlie Brown wah 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 kind of a thing, where he's just learning to kind of use the new approach to speak, or that you figure out the new way to speak, and you get a very clear message from him in the trying to form the syllables. He asks the very specific question, "What happened to me?"
And August, it's taking a few minutes to try to figure out how to phrase this.
Right. I mean, again, this is your first new experience, so yeah, it would be understandable that you are trying to do this as delicately as possible, but given everything that you've been through.
I'm listening.
Tell him, Hocus. You got to tell him.
Great
Use
harm.
your words.
Great harm was done to you. And we are going to try to help you find out what that was, who did it, and how to exact vengeance for it. We will see you at peace. We will see you made whole again. A new life, truly, but made whole. So I want you to try to focus your will to remain as calm as possible. Allow yourself the time to adjust to this new existence, for you are as a newly hatched bird. Give yourself time to learn what you need to learn.
He begins to look around as you say this new existence, and he takes in the surroundings. You know, he begins to really kind of look around, and he's just, the physical or the spiritual form of him, the spectral image of him kind of shifts a little bit as he's doing this. And it's a little bit fast in some cases, and sometimes it feels like very exaggerated. Again, he's adapting and learning to use his new physical form. And the next time he speaks, as he's looking around, is still the vocalization, the learning how to speak is still there, but it's a little bit more clear this time, and you are less forced to read his lips as you hear him ask, "Where am I?" And it comes out as, "Oh, where am I?" You know, kind of and it's not as
Underwater.
exactly, but it's clearer. You can make more out of it this time than you could the previous time, and you realize that his form is starting to glow a little bit less as he begins to come in more focus into what his form is. Like he's beginning to solidify, for lack of a better way to describe it.
Right.
So
To coalesce, as it were.
coalesce is a great word.
I love it. I don't use it very often, but I love it. You are on the... Oh, wait, it's the other way. You are... I'm trying to remember where Donovan's is in Night Market, but the map we keep looking at, north is that way. So
Right,
I'm
totally.
trying to recalculate. It's like, so we're on the...
I do plan to
side.
fix that, by the way. I found a very nice high detailed map of Dos
Okay,
Fall
good.
that will make it look much better.
You are in a warehouse on the western side of Night Market. Someone left your body here on the doorstep as a message to her.
He looks, as you say, body. He looks down,
I was waiting for this.
and for the first time,
Mhm.
realizes that something is incredibly amiss. And you can see the coalescing is beginning to finish its process as he becomes even more and sharply focused from that brilliant energy exchange that was the passing from the body into the ghost field realm to this coalesced physical manifestation that you can see. And you can see that it intensifies a little bit. It's almost like the lines that he is drawn from, as you can see through, bits and pieces of him, but his spiritual form, kind of comes into sharp focus, and the contrast is significant. And you can see panic play across his face. And as you get to the last of what you said, which is a message to her, he looks over at Ari, who is doing, her grieving, her solace, her comforting of herself, and looking at, Sling comforting Ari. And the scream begins. And it is significantly tiny at first, hollow, coming from almost nowhere. But it begins to build into this cacophony of just unbelievably painful explosion of energy. It's so loud in your head. And Sling, when you hear this, it is different but loud as well.
Yeah.
It
Sling
is
just
just
lets
this,
go while she just covers her ears.
right. It's the kind of thing
Which
where
doesn't help.
It doesn't help, but she's like, ah.
Well, but the reaction is it's so significant. You're just like, you drop,
Mm.
to your, into a position where you're just trying to hold your ears. And the only thing that's protecting Hocus from covering his ears and dealing, and it's intense for him too, but his spirit mask, the mask just kind of helps absorb and kind of wash it over him. And you have come to expect this, given that in certain cases you've seen this before when you were being apprenticed as a whisperer. But it's overwhelming, and it's just this gigantic sound, and you see Sling collapse down to the floor, and Ari is just kind of looks over at her just a little bit as she realizes that the comfort is stopped, but she doesn't understand why. Grin, Sky, what you see is just this stiffening of Hocus as something is going on, and Sling just kind of drops down.
She's just gonna make it stop.
And
Grin
as
is completely unnerved. He is freaking out.
as you
What's
should
wrong
be.
with this one? Sling! And she's like patting her on the back, kind of drunkenly still at this point.
She says, make it stop. Whatever it is, just make it stop.
Oh dear God!
Which one?
And so for Sling and Hocus, the screaming finally stops, as if there is this exhalation of all of this energy. And he defocuses a little bit after that intensity, and immediately the form begins to move towards Ari and to seek some sort of solace. And as he goes towards Ari, he disappears for a second. And he kind of coalesces again and reforms in front of Hocus. And he looks at Hocus and he says, for the first time, with an incredibly clear voice, where is he?
Welcome. This is a piece of information we are going to learn together, because we do not know, but we will. You are going to help us, and we are going to help you.
Honestly, we don't exactly know who he
looks
is.
He looks at you as you speak, and you get this sense of just overwhelming dread and intensity all at the same time. There's you're going to go through a flight or fight circumstance when he looks at you, because it's so intense. And you see that Hocus, you see this do this to her.
Okay.
Sling, how do you? All of a sudden, there's this intensity all at you, and you're feeling all just like this presence that it's almost like death is staring at you.
She's going to twitch and almost reach back for her gun, but stop herself, and just kind of not ready herself, but like look between Hocus, him, and Ari, and just try and steal herself as much as possible.
Does Goat have a reaction to it? Because Goat has a sense of
Goat's
the ghost
probably
fear.
barking.
Okay, so
She's going to try and shush him. Like, it's all right, boy. It's all right.
Yeah. And so, as you begin to console Goat to prevent him from, being even more aggressive, the spirit of Clav kind of, the ghost of Clav kind of looks back at Hocus and says, "How?"
As he's turning back, since Hocus still has a hold of one of his two hands.
Right.
And as he's turning back, Hocus will already have his other hand up so that it's right on his cheek. This is where we must work together. What do you remember from your last moments of your previous life? Did you see anyone?
Immediately there is a reaction, and it's a quick scream this time. But it's a scream that resembles an echo of an emotion, of a feeling, more than something that's connected to this particular form, this world. It's a remembrance, and it's a scream, and it's like an exhalation of breath at the same time of like a sound of shock. And after he does it, he kind of looks at himself for a second. He looks at his hand that you don't have a hold of. And he looks back at you and he says, "Pain." And he does this. And as he does this, the memory of all of the things that happened to him dance across his bare chest. Because you can see the clothes that he remembers there, but under that you can see what he remembers of his physical form, and that is that self-image. And across it you see various flashes. And those flashes all represent all of the hits that Nyx took on him.
Mm-hmm.
Do I see this as well?
Oh yeah, and it's creepy as hell. And at the final thing that you see as he remembers all of this is a sharp, bright pain right at where his solar plexus would be, and that was the blow that killed him. And when that is all done, he looks back at you again and he says, "When?"
Do I get a sense of he's asking, when are we going to get this son of a bitch, or when did this happen?
You get because the thread of the conversation has been,
we're going to get him.
Yes. It's, when are we going to get him?
First, we must find out who he is. Then we can figure out exactly when to get him.
As you say who, emotions dance all over his face. And he looks at Ari, and then he looks back at you. And his face goes blank for a second as you can see that he's trying to recall something of his physical life again. It's intellectual. It's a trying to recall the memory. And he whispers, "Oh, see, a man. Oh, see, a man." And he begins to, and he kind of stutters as he goes back and forth as he's trying to access this memory. But one of the things that you're noticing is that every time as you're engaging him, and as he experienced these outbursts of emotion or focus, or these manifestations, his form is beginning to sort of wither a little bit. That perfect self-image is beginning to dissolve into more of this emaciated, sort of gaunt sort of a look, as his form is really beginning to slowly lose the energy that it came over into the spirit realm with, into the ghost field. And you realize that he's going to need to feed.
Mm-hmm. O.C. and a man. All right.
Hocus, what's happening to him?
He grows hungry. And I'll move the hand from the face to his chest and say, try to hold on. And I just kind of look back and forth. It's like, he's going to need to feed very soon.
What does he eat?
The living essence.
Oh, okay. Suppose that ain't something that you can just buy at Donovan's?
We have 2 goats.
Did just get a new one.
We're not getting rid of PG tips.
PG tips, the preferred drink of all spirits.
I have never been more torn in my life, because as Louise, those goats are the most important thing in my life. As Sling, I mean, she looks after one of them, and that's it. That's it. Oh, God. I mean, we do have to. Mike in chat. This is not me. This is you. This is all your fault.
Word.
I will remember this. I'm cancelling it again. My Shroud application. I cancelled it like 6 times, and I resent it.
Does Hocus know? Does Hocus know where the nearest spirit well is?
Yeah, there would definitely be a couple. And I mean, so the spirit wells, in my mind, there are known spirit wells that pop up that are like established locations. Like there's one in 6 Towers that's in the middle of the park across from the Vale Estate, right? There are known spirit well locations that are all over Duskbowl that are like kind of established places. There are the ones that pop up as well that the the spirit wardens and the gondoliers would take care of in their own respective territories, essentially. So in this particular case, I don't think that there is one that is mentioned specifically for Night Market in the book. I want to double check that before, because I have a great location for one if that's not the case. Let me double check real quick. Go ahead.
Would it be reasonable to say that that might be something Sky has in order to take care of his sister?
She feeds off of you and your vice. That was the discussion that we had.
Okay.
Like she's eating your spiritual essence a little bit at a time to survive.
Then
that was the conversation we had, right?
I don't know if we had that exact conversation, but that makes a lot more sense. Yeah.
I mean, because that would explain the indulgence of your vice.
Yes.
At least in my mind. So
yes, I agree.
Actually, in the background, what's this happening? Sling has run away with all the goats. I've ditched the city. I've moved on.
So when you take them outside the shield, everything out there will eat them.
Yes. So in my mind, given the previous set of events that have happened for Phantom. Jot and Tittle's painting, their beautiful ornate painting that they did, and the reason that they were able to affect, and it was people were able to see it that were not in the ghost field, is because it was near a spirit well where they were able to bring enough energy in order to physically manifest something in the world. So to me, that seems like an appropriate location for a spirit well.
Okay.
And that is perfect for Hocus knowing that.
Because he'd practically be able to smell it once he got over there to see the painting anyway.
Well, probably see it, because it would be such an overwhelming thing for him from a physical manifestation, on top of the fact that there would be a lot of spirits hanging out around there.
Which is just awesome.
Right.
Alternatively, could feed off of Ari.
At this point,
Do
Ari
you want
probably
her
would
life
not
essence?
know or care, but I care.
Well, I think that there is actually
when it comes to life essence, what does that fully entail for an individual? What is actually going to happen?
That's what I'm looking up right now. But I will say this from a narrative perspective. I think Hocus would take serious offense at that, given his past. And in fact, I think that he would probably lightning hook and remove this spirit from existence, throw it into a bottle, and then throw it somewhere else or whatever, rather than allow anyone to be fed that he is aware of, even remotely, even potentially even cared about as an individual or human being. So I think you would have to be an absolute enemy of Hocus for him to allow somebody to feed. That's my interpretation based on some of the background stuff that I know about Hocus.
Now,
That makes sense.
Okay, so Sky didn't say that out loud, right? He didn't say.
What about Ari?
Well, so we got to go get him that then. And now, how exactly do we do that?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
How do we do that thing that
Oh.
you said we got to do?
To provide him with living essence. Either we allow him to feed on something living, or we take him to the other side of night market. Look at Clav, he who was Clav, former Clav, unclav, and say, will you walk with me? We'll find a place for you to gain strength.
Sure, it's safe taking him out in the city.
The other option would be to leave him here with us. And he will continue to grow more and more hungry. I do not think the crows will be after this. They would be after that.
A starving dog eventually bites its own master.
Also true.
I'm just going to look down at goats. Just...
As he looks up, he's like,
I keep him well fed.
So he looks at you as you say all that, and he doesn't understand. It's clear that he doesn't understand what you mean by feeding, or for you to follow because of all of that. But his overwhelming sense is to trust you, given the exchange so far seems to have been so positive, and Ari is there, kind of a thing, even though he's incredibly upset.
Yeah.
So even just at the implication that you're going to take him somewhere, he moves towards you almost a little uncomfortably. That would, it's, in a position, in a way that would make you almost feel uncomfortable, because he's like moving very close from a manifestation standpoint. But it's clear that he's just intending to follow you, right? That's his point. Now, I want to answer something real quickly from a mechanical perspective because of what Ari asked. It would be, he would have to possess you in order to feed off of you. So you would become Clav essentially for a short period of time.
Okay.
And you would roll an attune essentially to resist that. So.
Let's take him to a well. Let's take it to a well.
Yeah.
Given the fact that he's brand new to this, he probably doesn't know how to stop real well.
Exactly. I'm kind of good. I don't want to be a just recently out of puberty boy again. You know,
Again?
Hang that came out wrong.
Ari, gosh, you do have some secrets.
You're learning many secrets about Ari. No, that's totally just the words. Let's go to the well. Let's do the well. I am down for the well thing.
All right, okay, so that's what we're doing. Looks like this is a thing that we're doing. Okay, we're doing this. Let's go.
And so, looking at Ari, do you remember where we went to see the painting?
Yes.
We're going there again. I need you to come with me, with us.
Whatever you say, Mr. Ghostman.
And I presume Sling, you know.
I'm here.
Okay. But the rest of you.
Here for you, bud.
Noting that Grin is like,
I'll go ahead. I'll meet you there. I'll make sure the area's, clear-ish.
Clear.
Yeah, that.
and so kind of looking over towards Sky. Like, are you coming?
Go.
Staying here.
Sky's going to look at you and kind of look around and be like, I think there might be some business for me to attend to around here still. You go off.
All right. We'll split the
There's
party.
that body to dispose of, but I'm not.
As he says that, though, Ari's going to reach out and grab his bird tattooed arm
Mm-hmm.
and say, I need you.
Ooh.
For what now?
She doesn't say anything back. She just stares incredibly sincerely at his eyes. Just
Wow.
it's the most sober moment you've seen from Ari for the last hour.
I guess I'll go start the goat.
Well done. Well done.
All right, Ari. I'll go with you.
All right, then. Everyone follow me. And
Okay, we're just gonna do a cut directly to essentially the edge of the canal.
Sling has gone ahead to make sure that there's nobody in the area.
Well,
I'm
so,
sorry, I'll start the goat.
all right. So from a narrative perspective, the conversations that happened, or the thing that happened, the element that happened around the fortune roll that Sky made in respect to finding that information, probably happened during the daytime hours. What we consider the work time hours in Duskwall. The events of this are probably something that you would have tried to accomplish almost immediately after the discovery of the body, and so Hocus went off, came back, did that whole thing. So while we're doing this after that roll happened, I think that those events happened before. That way you guys are doing this at quote unquote night, and there's not as many people around, unless you want to deal with the idea of Hocus walking around in full whisper garb in the daytime and being marked as coming out of Donovan's and that kind of a thing. Does that sound okay to you guys?
No.
I mean,
No?
I have
No.
it's very hesitant.
I have disguise kits available Should
Let's go under the cover of the darker darkness.
The
Yeah.
the darker darkness.
Do that.
Okay, so we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna cut, and it's still the downtime period, the hours that are described as with names versus numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Hocus, set the scene for.
Gladly. Okay. So as we step to very near the wall where Duskwall's hope was depicted, Hocus walks over towards the edge of the pier, whatever the fuck it would be, where the water is, and he kind of turns towards Clav and points out into the water and says, "Do you see this? This glow, this brilliance. It feels necessary, does it not? You feel like a supple, familiar incense from when you were very young, a cherished, familiar memory that you wish to take in, breathe in, drink in the memory of it, to pull it toward you. A small sample at first, just a taste, as you are sampling sweets. And once you feel it move throughout you, restore a bit of your strength, then take a little bit more, and a little bit more, but be careful. Do not breathe in so deeply that you overfill, because that will hurt you as well, as much as starving. So be very careful, a little bit at a time, until your hunger is sated."
Ari's going to obnoxiously turn to Sky and Sling and be like, "Sounds like me when I'm eating spaghetti."
Me too, except I don't stop. I just turn their serving fork around and just start packing it in.
I feel you. So he moves forward at first, and so when you described the well, to me it sounded like it was in the actual water proper, like
that's what I presumed.
Okay, because some different wells are, can be in different. Essentially, they can be on land, they can be on water. That it's not uncommon for them to be on water, and it's something that the gondoliers will deal with. But so he moves forward, and he kind of steps out towards the well, and he moves beyond, and this is what the lure-induced vision of that. It kind of makes it a little confusing for Sling at first, because she still sees the physical reality of it, of what's around her. But Hocus, you get the impression that that's okay, and so he begins to do exactly what you say. And at first, it's a taste, and so there's a little bit of a glow, a real quick glow, and then he comes in sharper focus, and that self-image just kind of restores itself just a little bit, and then he drinks a little deeper. Right. And that begins to kind of restore him more. The well itself begins to take a clearer shape for you and Sling. I would imagine that this is a new experience for Sling, or a relatively new experience, because in your drug-induced state, you would have seen wells around, but I'm not sure you would have approached them and paid attention to what was going on. So you're seeing this for the first time, and it's quite a new experience for you. Clav continues to consume from the well, and you see other spirits are around and kind of doing the same thing. And as that's happening, and as Clav begins to consume more from the well, it almost appears like it opens up a little bit more. There is this overwhelming sense of more power that's kind of rolling off of the well as he consumes more, and there are other spirits consuming more, and it appears to be there's more and more feeding going on, and the vision of the well strengthens, and its swirling coalescence becomes even more visible in the ghost field. And as Clav takes in this final, this final draught of the essence, he comes back in full focus. He comes back vibrant, and his self-image is restored to that of what you saw him previously. And he turns, and as he turns away, he turns back towards you and begins to walk towards you, and you're still looking at him, but you see something that draws your eye towards the well as this happens. And Hocus, you kind of look over a little bit over his shoulder, and you see a pair of eyes staring at you from the well. And you hear a voice, not unfamiliar to you, coming from your past. And for brief seconds, you get flashed visions of those memories, those thousands upon thousands upon thousands of memories. And as they come just washing over you, you hear a little bit of a laughter, something very familiar, very intimate in your ears. And it literally just washes over you in an emotional state, and everything goes out of focus for just a second and comes back.
Are there any crates or boxes nearby?
I'm sure that there was some refuse behind, or around that you'd see.
Well, as this happens, and though you can't see Hocus's face because of the mask, that's the word I was looking for. He's still standing there, basically like, go out to the thing, and he's still got his hand out because he's waiting for Clav to turn him back around so he can say, come on back. But as soon as that happens, he just scrambles backwards and falls backwards over, some piece of, as you said, detritus laying around. Just almost screams, scrambles backwards, falls back on his ass, and it's scrambling backwards on his on hands and ass over tea kettle thing. And then when it all goes away, he's just like.
You're right.
Sling, you did see something and did hear something.
Cool, thanks. I'm
along
glad.
with that, and that something you see that at the same time that he begins to react.
I'm going to twitch my gun again, and like enough to like grip it and wait until it passes, and then I'm just kind of like looking around, trying to find anything at all. I'm going to shoot a ghost.
Drunk Ari is just going to be like, what's going on with like Ghost Man
I'm
and
shooting a
Veiny
ghost,
One?
Ari.
Ghost Man and Veiny One are having something going.
Grin is very... I was going to say, Grin is torn between wanting to help Hocus, who is clearly having a fit, and also still freaking the fuck out.
Which I'm sure can totally help.
I'm going to gently put my hand on Ari and say, hold on, I'm sure it's going to be all right. And like just slowly try to attune to the ghost field. It's not something he's really had much experience with before, other than kind of instinctually for his sister. Like he's never had any formal training with it or anything. It was literally just like the moment his sister died, he was so desperate that he reached out.
Join us. It's so much fun in the ghost field today.
Yay!
Okay.
Today in Ghostfield.
Today in Ghostfield.
PG tips. Like.
The Ghost Field,
Paranormal ghost tips?
was sponsored by PG.
Okay, so go ahead and let's start that roll, because I'm very curious to see how this plays out for Sky.
Okay.
Okay.
Risky, probably. Just because, I mean, we don't really know what the situation here is, and he's not really too familiar with entering the ghost field, other than just to interact with his sister.
Yes.
And then effect, probably limited. Well,
so wait a minute. You said risky for the position, and then limited for the effect.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say yes on limited. There is an element of more than risk though here, and because I mean, this is not something necessarily where it's just like, I mean, is the motivation that you want to tune in to find out what's going on, or are you looking for danger?
I mean, considering how Hocus reacted, I suppose I'm looking for danger.
All right, then I want to see this as a desperate action.
Okay.
Because I think that it's the kind of thing where Sky is acting out of instinct and not quite sure what he's going to see.
All right, then in that case, I would like to take this moment to thank Ayami for the donation earlier, which gave a critical success on a desperate action.
Oh, Jesus.
You walked into that one, Johnny.
You asked for it. I was going risky.
He was going to go risky.
No, but this is actually a great roll actually to use that, because not only will you get some really interesting things out of this, but you will also get 1 XP specifically for rolling a desperate action.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll still count.
Yeah.
Okay, so with a critical success, with a crit on this, what you see almost immediately freaks you out. You get a sense of the moment that Sling reacts is the first thing you actually see, because she hears something and she kind of looks over, and then Hocus begins to do his dance backwards as he's just trying to. And while what they saw and what was going on was a little bit confusing to them, what you saw was something reaching out towards Hocus out of the well. And you're not sure what it was, because it didn't coalesce into a physical form necessarily, but it was almost as if energy was reaching out and touching him, and it touched him very slightly, just a little bit, just the tip actually,
Just
the PG tip.
But so it
Brought
it
to
was
you
like,
by
it was
Team
like,
Phantom.
it was
Like-
like it just reached out, in this sort of like miasma, or like a fog kind of a, reaching out, and it barely touched him. I mean, it was just the lightest of touches that you saw, but because you did it out of desperation, and you just focused right in, and you just all of this, just like your senses changed completely for just that second, and you tuned in and you saw this. And then immediately it pulled back, and you heard a little bit of the laughter.
Okay. I was like trying to like comfort Ari with like the one hand as I tried to look to see what was going on, and you just immediately feel my hand tense up and like grip you to the point where it almost hurts.
Would you by the way, would you like to hear what the laughter sounds like?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. No, but
Oh,
yes.
no. I'm afraid. I'm scared.
Do it. Do it.
Do it. Do it. Do it.
Do
Do
it.
it. Do it like that. Do it.
It sort of goes like this. I don't have enough water in my mouth to do
Oh my
it.
god. I'm so tense.
God.
The tension. The tension's building.
Do it. Do it. Do it.
Do it.
Stop.
That's like how I
Okay.
eat Cheerios.
Yeah.
It was a great laugh though.
10 out of
It was
10.
watery. It was moist.
It
Yes,
was
it
moist.
was.
Oh.
It was a moist laugh.
So yeah, if Sling heard that, she is clutching her gun. She's like, not today, Satan, not today.
So this is happening basically to Guy, who is currently like kind of gripping himself into Ari. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
That's correct.
Well, Ari's definitely going to notice that
Ow!
Sky has gone no from her usual calm and collected ish self of like, I don't give a fuck, oh yes I'm drunk, ooh spirit, to hang on, even Sky has kind of lost that facade now. At least for her, physically, she can notice that that's gone. The cool, calm, collected Sky is not there. And that's kind of going to give her a moment of sobriety.
Okay.
She's very aware that right now, shit's going down.
How does Ari react once that sobering moment happens?
Well, for one, she stops doing her like everywhere, but she actually starts to kind of crouch down with Sky. I mean, Sling on one end is also having her own like
I'm having my own
Trip.
trauma. I'm just like,
Right, so
what's
the
going
two arms that were around Ari being is like, hey, we're here, have become like, hey, I'm having my own little trip right now to like something demonic is happening to me right now, essentially. And so yeah, she's going to kind of pick up that, wait, hang on, there's no time to be what I want to be
Right.
right now. It's time to kind of snap back together a bit, at least a little bit. And while she keeps one arm on Sling's back, she does like crouch down with Sky as he starts to react and is constantly looking at what is he doing, like how is he reacting, why is this normally cold and calculated gentleman just so cracked up right now.
Right. Grin, you are witnessing so many things just kind of standing back. How are you taking this? I mean, because the reaction of Sling going for her gun is going to be something that's going to trigger a seasoned soldier like Grin enough as it is. But then to watch Hocus do his thing and then watch the reaction of Sky and Ari.
He really is freaking the fuck out. That bottle is empty. That bottle has been discarded. And Grin is holding his kukri. Grin is looking between Sky and Hocus and Sling and even drunken Ari's behavior, and he's got no control over this situation. He has not got any clue what's going on. He has always been uncomfortable with the veil, with ghosts, with all of that. He is not a spiritual man. He is closed to that. And he's seeing it, and he's seen it before. This is incredibly disturbing for him. He is out of his element. He feels like a child. This is so far beyond him. His instinct is to run away.
Okay. As you're taking this all in and you're kind of assessing it and you're having that fight or flight response, you begin to hear voices kind of distantly off to the right.
Oh no.
And you take it as it draws a little bit closer, you hear that it comes closer and stops and comes closer, and you know that this is a blue coat patrol. Blue coat.
Do we all hear this?
Oh, I'm sure you would all do, but of all of you, the only one in his actually right mind right now is Grin.
Okay, I'm trying to think who I'm closest to. If I'm hanging back, I'm close to probably closer to Ari and Sky.
Oh God,
and I'm trying to get Sky's attention, and actually that helps Grin completely refocus. And the kukri is back in its sheath on his belt, and he's going to start walking in that direction. He's actually going to walk towards the voices, and I'll tell you his thinking. He wants to stall them.
Okay.
Cool. Because if they discover this scene, there's so many questions. There's it's a very risky situation.
Well,
we're all drunk. On
To be
PG
fair-
Hey.
To be fair, are we doing anything illegal by is it illegal to do what we're doing here tonight, or is it just, I mean, it's
No,
strange for us to be
it's the
out,
fact
but
that it's the fact it raises questions. It's the fact that Hocus is on the floor and he's wearing his mask, and
I've got a
is-
gun out and I'm just like
And-
walking around.
We're
This
next
is
to
true.
a we're next
You're
to
right.
a well, and I'm going to assume the blue coats being here, and I'm assuming this would not be a good
It's
situation
not
to
a
be
good
discovered.
scene.
It's not. So Grin's instinct is to actually start walking very calmly towards the voices.
Okay.
Grin moves away as the rest of the group is beginning to struggle with the aftermath of what they've just seen and experienced. And Clav has moved back towards and is completely oblivious to what has just happened. And in his spectral form, he rushes to Hocus's side as Hocus recovers, and he begins to engage and ask you what is wrong.
Well, Hocus being in the condition that he's in, not quite all there just yet. So, as soon as Clav comes over, because Hocus is kind of backing towards like the wall where Duskfall's Hope was painted, and he's like back against the wall, and he's just kind of holding his, like he's trying to push his spirit mask into his flesh to protect himself. And so does Clav try to touch him?
No.
Okay.
But he's at your side.
Right.
But there's the experience has been enough so that he understands how the physical form works now, right?
Mhm.
How the lack of physical form. I mean, it's a steep learning curve, and you learn very quickly.
Right.
Once you come over.
Okay. So, huffing and panting and trying desperately not to throw up through the mesh that is between the two halves of the mask, because it just get horrible. It's like throwing up in a mascot costume. It's terrible. Don't ever do it. Trust me, I know.
There's a story there that I want to hear later.
There are 10 years worth of stories there. I did professional mascot work for a long time. Anyway, so it's very difficult for anybody else to hear him, but he's just sitting there just holding, and he's just chanting in Eruvian, very much like what he said when he was drawing Clav out of the thing. But it's a protection chant to help focus the mind, to shield yourself, to and he's just repeating it over and over and over and over and over and over again.
And as you're chanting that, Sling, you see, because Hocus is focusing so much on that, Sling, what you see is, and Sky, you actually see this too because you're attuned, and for the first time you get a clear picture of who Clav is and what he looks like in spiritual form. And he begins to step back a little bit and is uncomfortable with what is emanating off, and what you see coming from Hocus in the ghost field, since you both are attuned in your own way, is just this wave of energy just being pushed back, and Clav is being pushed back, and you see it actually affecting other. I mean, it's almost like in Harry Potter the Patronus, right? The way it pushes back, and it just pushes them back a little bit. It's a gentle push, but it's enough that it's strong enough that it just shifts them away, and you see Clav kind of move back a little bit from this as Hocus is just continuing to chant this over and over and over.
I think we got to move, sir.
I'm gonna walk right over to Hocus.
I'm going
And-
to following.
I'm guessing that Ari, as someone who's been like kind of goes with at this point, she's just kind of sheeping it.
I'd say Sling keeps like a respectable distance, like realizing that he does not need someone to be in his personal space right now.
Right.
But she's there.
Hocus, you all right?
Just repeating.
Hocus, listen to me. All right. You're here, okay? You're on whatever the hell street we're on. You're here, and you're with us.
All right. No. This ain't right. We got to get him out of here. Calm down,
let's
back.
You want to
Go.
touch him? You clearly don't want to be touched right now. He needs to snap out of it.
At that point, Ari's just gonna grab his hand and like try to go.
Is who? Is Hocus?
Yes.
Yeah.
Huh. Which instantly he just screams out, Sesereth! Which is don't touch me in Eruvian.
And so as that happens, we're going to cut to Grin, who's casually making his way towards the blue coats.
Hello,
Who
sir.
appear to be just kind of doing the various, little bits. And you hear this scream come from behind you, Grin. And the two blue coats kind of look towards your direction and immediately start to run.
And I pull out my kukri
Bugger.
and I attack them.
Oh, fuck.
Wow. Okay. Guess what?
Wait, what district are we in again?
Huh?
Where are we?
We're in
What?
the night market. We're on
Okay, we're still in the night market. Okay, so it's not our friend Bluecoats from Six Towers.
Oh, no.
No.
This is a
Nah,
different
these ones
district.
can die.
Well,
there.
that's fine then. Yeah, we can kill them. Go, Grin, go.
Yeah,
I'm going to.
That's not going to affect your relationship with the blue coats at all, is it? No,
Yeah.
They don't work
not like they're a
together.
organization or anything.
It
Listen.
would only affect our relationship if they work out it's us.
This is a score, right?
This is. Oh, God.
Guys,
We
I
didn't
asked-
have downtime.
This is like the most intense like downtime slash like free play that there
We didn't
ever
even
did
reach
zombie
downtime.
or ever tis there was.
This is just an entanglement.
And this was
This is just the entanglement.
Just the entanglement.
With that all in mind, I am more than happy to have a discussion about this as a score, but I am not going to take this moment away from Grin right now.
Go for
He
it.
is pulling
No,
out-
go for a grin. You can do
Kill 'em all.
it.
Kill 'em all.
You got
This
this.
is-
And then you grin.
Make
Okay, so Grin, you are walking on essentially what is like a promenade along the canal that faces. There's shops essentially along here, and there are walls. There's the space where the wall for the Dusk Falls Hope was on. As example, as a backside of a building, that kind of a thing. But it's kind of a mishmash of backsides and storefronts or doors or what have you. But you are walking essentially on what's like a 10-foot wide promenade. So you have the ability to really just kind of pull your sword out and be ready to swing, because it's a big ass sword. If I remember, it's a two-handed sword, correct?
It's a two-handed sword. It's 3/5.
Oh.
It's 3/5 handle, 2/5 blade.
Right.
It's an infantry weapon. It's a Scotland infantry weapon. It hangs literally under his right arm so that his coat can come to the side. He can get an arm on the sword. It hangs by a hook, and he can actually swing it while it's still attached, but otherwise shrug out of it and go crazy.
Okay, so these two blue coats are running in your direction, right? They are running, but they are not necessarily looking at you. They heard a scream, but they are running in your direction. How do you want to make this attack? Like, describe to me how you're going to make this attack, and then we'll come up with the roll that goes along with that. And as Speedy's pointing out, you do have a crit.
Okay. I will actually, as they're coming towards me or about to pass me, I will step to the side like, whoa. As they run past, I would like to sweep the legs out from the one
Sweet.
Okay, so from the one closest to you.
and literally pulling the kukri out as the second one runs a few more paces before he realizes what happens. I
Mhm.
literally want to throw the kukri at him.
Okay, and is that what you're going to use for your crit, or are you going to roll it?
I'd like to use the crit on the thrown weapon,
Okay.
and then while it's even in the air, I reach down to the tripped blue coat and I snap his neck.
Okay, so the crit is going to cover both of those.
Fantastic.
Because so in my head, what happens as you're describing this is the blade comes out from your coat and you throw it, and it goes and it twirls, or it does a rotation before it nails it slides into the back of this blue coat's back, and immediately just the mid momentum, mid stride, the body begins to tumble. And you drop, and when you drop onto this one that you just tripped, how do you pin him down so you can snap his neck?
There's a knee. I put my left knee right into his back.
Exactly.
Get one hand under his jaw, the other hand on the back of his head, and just, I've done it before.
Right.
Do it again. I snap his neck.
Okay. So you execute that maneuver, and you.
I do this. I haven't even watched the kukri land.
Right, exactly. You're so confident because again, you're so confident. This is something that you've done before. Blade comes out, you throw, you drop down, you snap the neck. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You were going to
And
say.
keep in mind, he finished that bottle of whiskey.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so as you do that and you begin to stand up, the distant sound that you've heard throughout this entire evening, throughout this entire session of the crows, the distant sound begins to get louder. That remote cawing, just sort of crackling, sort of a cacophony that has been just sort of like coalesced, around you, just sort of in the darkness above you, begins to become into sharp focus as you can hear them coming closer to you.
Then can I go a bit meta?
Oh, sure.
So to the rest of the crew, I don't have many options here, and my instinct is to have Grin run. I don't think if I grab both bodies and drag them with me, where would I take them?
I would say
what would happen if we
toss them
threw them into the spirit well?
Right.
So
what would happen?
If you intentionally threw the bodies at the spirit well, I don't know. I think that's a perfect discussion to have around the table. Grin, you would know that it is very common to quickly dispose of bodies in Doskfall. You would just throw them in the canal, and you're right next to the canal.
Throw them in the canal.
Gondoliers will
Kick him
take
in.
But if you throw them at the spirit well, I'm very interested about having the discussion that goes around that.
Me too.
But
everything goes well. The end. Thank you.
You'd have to take them all the way. It would just be like another, 40
Yay.
paces backward to get them to the well. But
right, he would essentially just grab them by their coats after he's pulled his blade out, I'm assuming, and just drag them down there. But would he know to do that? That's the question.
Honestly, Grin's instinct is hello, canal. Sploosh, sploosh.
Exactly.
I think to quickly talk about it, what I think would happen if you threw it into a spirit well is that whatever spirits in there are going to get a whole lot stronger. Namely, whatever the hell the hand thing was, like, hello, this is me.
That's a lovely idea. Please do
don't
that.
Want that?
No, it's not happening. He's putting it in the canal. He already said he's putting it in the canal.
It's already in the canal.
How about we leave this to fate?
No.
Actually, I like that idea, but we're going to do this in a very interesting way.
Okay.
Brynn grabs each of the bodies and immediately, just using brute strength and being, just tosses them into the water.
Okay.
They begin to kind of float down the direction towards the spirit well. As he's moving back that direction, he sees the bodies begin to get caught in the current and be pulled that direction. So, fortune roll.
Oh, okay.
1d6 for sheer luck on what's going to happen. I want to be very clear about how this is going to work. If it is a mild success or a success, if it's a 4 through 6, nothing's going to happen. There might be some consequence that comes out of a 4 and a 5, but it's not going to have the negative consequence that we're talking about. If it's 1 through 3, there's definitely going to be a consequence. Starting with 1d6. Anybody have any positive traits they want to add to this? Because I'm very curious.
There's at least a 50% chance the river flows the opposite direction.
Yes. There's physics as a positive.
Yes. So that is 2d6. So that's one additional die.
I'd say as well, because the majority of us that are at this area are attuned to this area, if their bodies are coming towards it, there'd be a reaction from the things in the spirit well, and they'd be like maybe reaching out. We'd be like, oh, that's a bad thing. And maybe we could react.
Okay. Yes.
So I'd say that's a positive. So we'd have a stage where we could like maybe get the bodies away and push them the other way, or I don't know, send Goat in to get stronger or something. I don't know.
Okay. Fair enough. So that's 2 additional. Anybody else have any positives?
You love us.
The fact we're at a canal, there are like boats.
It's always a plus.
There
do
could be
tips? Can we use that again?
boats or gondoliers nearby who could pick it up before it even reaches that.
Well, and so that could be possibly one of the positive reactions to it. All right, I'll give you, because it's a common thing for it to happen and the gondoliers are always watching. You haven't seen any yet, but that's more than likely the case. All right, so 46 is what I'm hearing. So you get 3 additional.
Sure.
Let us
Okay.
roll and see
Okay.
what fate determines for you all.
Lisa, Hocus's chanting doesn't affect this at all.
4.
Fours.
It's good enough. Good
That
enough.
is a
That's good enough.
success.
That's a success. So
The bodies begin to kind of float down towards the river. They were always, I was going to give you the physics things, but they were always going to float down that direction. But the bodies just kind of get carried in the current away from and towards the other side of the canal, which is where the lightning barrier is. And they just kind of continue to float around past. And at that, you see the crows begin to kind of move in that direction as they begin to come out of the sky and head towards the floating bodies as they're kind of going along the river. And you see the crows kind of disappear in the distance as the bodies go down, continuing along the canal. Grin walks back up to what's happening. What's going on, guys?
I'm like, I've at this stage probably grabbed Ari and pulled her away from Hocus.
And is anybody able to get through to Hocus?
I know what I'm going to do. Okay. I have, in my inventory, I have a vial of slumber essence, and I'm going to throw it at his goddamn face.
Okay. All right. So you've got, I mean, it's the kind of thing where it's just like, it's not going to reuse that, right? It's a reusable thing. So you would have some of that and you would just pull the mask off and pour it down his gullet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How hard is Hocus going to resist that?
Hocus doesn't want anybody touching him right now. He's barely here.
Okay. I'm going to try and gently, like without touching him at all, try and pull the mask off so that he, like, just as quickly, as swiftly, as motionlessly as possible, so as to not disturb him from his stupor or whatever. Should I roll for this, or?
I was going to say a contested roll might be interesting for this.
Well, so there are rules for very specific actions that happens between players, and it is described as player versus player. I read them recently, given the discussion that we were having kind of off camera about the interaction between Shroud and Phantom, looking for guidance in the interaction between the two crews. So the rules specifically, or they're more guidelines because it's a conversation, but what they basically say is, as long as everybody agrees to how we resolve this, the results will stand. And we just have to have a quick discussion about how we want to resolve this. Now, whether it's a contested roll of, Hocus rolls, a physical ability, while, Sky rolls a physical ability, and whoever gets the higher of the roll wins, or if it's Hocus, or it's Sky has to roll something, and then it's, whatever Sky, Hocus's ability, kind of provides a negative and removes dice, dice from the pool or whatever. However we want to resolve it is great. So does anybody have any suggestions about how we should resolve this? Because I have an idea, but I'm curious to see if anybody else has any particular.
I think contested rolls would work. I would probably roll finesse while you would roll something else. Skirmish, maybe.
But then we would also have to account for what is Clav going to do when he sees you coming at me like that?
That's a completely separate narrative element to this.
Okay.
I know exactly what's going to happen. But.
Okay, good.
Oh.
Oh no.
I'm fine with what did you say? Finesse versus skirmish?
Finesse versus skirmish, yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Do you have any points on skirmish?
No.
I don't have any points in finesse. Let's go.
This is going to be great. Okay, so from a mechanicals perspective, both of you are rolling, and the lower of the two dice is going to be what is determining the success.
Mm-hmm.
Given the fact that you both have you're both doing this, we could potentially get to a tiebreaker. Is there any particular type of resolution, or do we want to do a roll again, or do you guys want to just narrate something that accomplishes both the fact that you both failed, or you both succeeded?
I was going to say, ultimately, I'm fine with this working.
Okay.
Just that first attempt is going to kind of be,
Yeah.
It's
a matter of. I think
it makes sense because
what we
Ari
tie
kind of
on
went
matters
for it
too.
without any thought or feeling. So I think that would make sense that. Well,
it's the same thing.
I think.
Remember when Ari was trying to adjust his stuff and Hocus was like,
exactly. Like Ari jumps in without thinking and Hocus reacts.
Yep.
So that's.
I think what we tie on would matter too, because if we both tie on a 6, that means like I succeeded in taking the mask off and like hitting him with slumber essence, but he also succeeded at like pushing me away and possibly injuring me.
Maybe he pushes you into the canal.
No, we're too far away for that.
Maybe he pushes you into the spirit well.
It is impossible to crit when we only have 1 die, okay?
Maybe you are fed to the spirits.
Right. So, I'm going to say this is probably desperate for both of us, right?
I think that's a perfectly valid position to be in.
And effect standard, maybe great.
Okay. I think in Hocus's case, the effect is going to be limited because it's just a matter of him protecting himself. For Sky, it's definitely standard and possibly great because it will prevent attracting more attention. It will calm Hocus down. It might calm Cloud down, all of that. So I'm okay with it being great as long as everybody else is okay with it being great for Sky. That does not dissuade the fact that it still could be incredibly negative because the two of you are rolling something that you don't have any dice in.
Yeah. I'm going to push myself.
That's what I was going to ask next. So you're going to take another. How much stress does Sky have right now?
4.
Oh, okay. So you're going to push yourself, and you're going to take, 2 stress essentially for that. What about Hocus? Is Hocus going to push himself?
He doesn't have the presence of mind to push himself or something like this.
Okay. Let me ask.
His main thing is just trying to protect. He's trying to shell out.
Right.
And
okay. Would Sky take a devil's bargain?
No.
Okay. I just want to ask that question. So, with all of that in mind, this is actually by Sky pushing himself, he's going to take 1 die. So that means that he's only going to roll 1 die, but he's going to take the result of that 1 die.
Mm-hmm.
So that means it could potentially be much more positive than whatever Hocus rolls as his negative, but there is a risk there because you're only rolling 1 die. Just so you know. I just want to be very clear about that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So with that in mind, guys, why don't you go ahead and roll?
4.
3.
Wow, that actually is a really decent roll for Hocus, but
yeah.
But with all that in mind, Sky, please describe how you accomplish this.
Okay, so he's freaking out. He just screamed at Ari to let go of him, and I assume she does so.
The only one who understood what he said. So
right, right. So she does so, and he's kind of freaking out, twitching still there, and I just sort of gently reach forward, and without trying to cause too much of a fuss, I reach for his mask, and I just, and he probably strikes out, and I back up immediately. And then while the mask is off, I lean forward again, and I just gently pour this into his mouth. And his twitching just slowly starts to stop, just slowly, and then he's out.
He's back against the wall and slumped.
Yeah.
Okay.
At which point, Grin walks up, picks Hocus up, puts Hocus over his shoulder, and says, "We're leaving."
I like
stand
that
by
plan.
myself.
Yeah, sure, you betcha.
Any room for one more? She says as she looks at Grin, like carrying someone.
Ari, please, now's not the time.
Grin
Sling is
Grin
slowly
flings
put her
Ari
gun
over
back.
his other shoulder.
And with that, as we get the image of Brynn putting Ari over his other shoulder and her giggling just a little bit, call it right there. We're gonna
Excellent.
it right there.
Will we ever have downtime?
Before we get into XP, I want to have this a brief acknowledgement that there was a lot more going on here than just an entanglement.
There's a lot going on here.
It was on the level of a score. So what I want to do is, after this is all done, after we do XP and everything else, let's talk off screen, and we'll talk about the results of it next week as to how we figured this came out as a score and what happened. But I want to have that. I don't want to have the conversation on screen because it's now 11:05 or 11:07 at this point for you guys, for some of you. So we'll do that. We'll do that off screen, and then we'll just the results will come out at the beginning of next week's show as to how we all decided this kind of factored out in that respect. So let's go ahead and start with XP. I want to start with Sky.
Okay.
There were some interesting things that happened with Sky, and I want to make sure that we acknowledge those things this time around.
Okay, so first off, I rolled 2 desperate actions. One was in prowess for finesse, and one was in resolve for tuning. Then again, address a challenge with calculation or conspiracy. I'd say that happened at the beginning when I was trying to figure out what happened.
Okay.
I think that's probably the only time that happened.
Okay.
So that's another point there.
Okay, so that's 3.
And then express beliefs, drives, heritage, or background. That happened, I feel like, twice, probably. Once because of my sister regarding the risk that she would wake up.
Okay.
And then again, regarding the fact that when Ari asked him to help her, he did.
Okay. All right.
Because that's a very major change for him. Because ordinarily he would be much more concerned about himself.
Right.
And wouldn't do something just because someone else in the crew asked. And even just the fact that he was comforting her, that he offered her his whiskey in her time of need. And then again,
she grabbed that bird arm, She grabbed that bird arm.
That classic bird arm.
The classic.
And then struggling with issues, my vices or traumas. I mean, again, with my sister, I don't know if you want to double count that.
No, usually I like to, at least in my mind, and we've the way we've done it, previous experiences or when we're doing experience, it's either counts as one or the other in some place.
Okay.
But there is a definite other element to you struggling with your vice that I think is awesome, and that's the crit. Now, granted, that gets used as a part of the desperate roll, but I think there's a separate instance here because you thought about doing it that way.
Yeah. You
thought about tuning because that was the experience. And even if it was instinctual for Sky to do it, the fact that you as a character did it, I think that deserves in this one circumstance, double counting of your XP. So it's at least 1 XP there for that particular instance.
Okay.
And going back to everything that you just said, and the reason I wanted to highlight Sky first is because I think there was a huge amount of character development for Sky in this episode. An unbelievable amount that we've not seen since the initial episode when Sky really set the tone for who Sky is at that point, right? There was a slight shift in his attitude and approach, but I think it was significant enough that we talk about the fact that there is a slight shift going on there in his attitude, especially given his interaction with Ari. So it's an awesome job tonight. Good job.
Thanks.
All right, so that's 6 or 7 XP, right? 6.
I marked it as I went.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let's go with Ari next.
Well, I didn't really do any desperate actions or things like that, but I may have addressed something with influence when it came to Sky, and knowing the like pact that we have of he can't betray me, and in turn I can't
Yeah.
betray him.
The grabbing
I
of the
feel
arm
like
is the physical element of that. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think there was like something emotional there where like if Sky had been the same person that he was when he made that contract, I think that he would have still had no problem leaving you behind, but because he was somehow emotionally attached, it would have felt like betraying you to not go with you when this meant so much.
sweet.
Yeah.
So
I'm soft on Ari now.
she has that way.
Mm.
Then I think I definitely expressed beliefs, drives, heritage, or background today when it came to everything to do with Clav and the emotions around losing Clav, which may also go into struggling with both vice and trauma, because I end up drinking a lot, which kind of gives into my pleasure vice.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know necessarily about trauma, though. Would having a friend turn up on your doorstep as a bloody body take place as
So
a
those
trauma?
those
Or
specifically are targeting the trauma that's indicated on the character sheet. But you definitely did deal with your vice and struggled with your vice because you were drinking so much because of the body and because of the way you were acting. And there were 2 or 3 cases where we saw that where you were struggling because one, you were dealing with the actual act of doing it, but it having no inherent value of like relieving your stress. But there was the second one where you narratively came out of it, or you role played coming out of it for Sky's benefit because you saw that he was struggling with something. So I think you deserve at least 2 XP there for that particular last element there.
Q.
All right.
Q.
So
So that would make it like 3?
Yeah. To me, was that 3 or 4? I thought it was 4. There were 2 elements that she was dealing with in respect to. There was one element she was dealing with her background, drive, heritage, or goals, and there was one that she was dealing with respect to
Influence.
Influence, right? So,
Yeah.
and then you got 2 at the end, so that's 4. Cool. Awesome. All right, Sling, you're up.
Hello, that's me. Yes, hello. Hi, everybody. My name's Sling.
PG tips.
PG tips, goats. Desperate actions. No, sir, not today. Tracking or violence, potentially with the whole, I've got a gun, I'm going to shoot whatever the hell's near me. If this happens, potentially, maybe.
You were pretty, and there were many points where you were like, gun.
And I was like, I'm going to shoot something. I'm going to shoot
Absolutely.
something.
There was at least 2 cases where you were doing that, so absolutely.
Sweet. So does that count as 2?
Absolutely.
Yes, cool. Beliefs, drives, heritage, or background. I'd say definitely with the whole, firstly, bothering to look into this at all with the questioning, and then bothering to help at all with the attuning, because this is the first time that Sling's had to deal with this kind of thing. Like the reason she takes law is to forget that this kind of thing ever happened to her, and this is the first time since coming to Duskwell she's dealt with this head on, and that is pretty traumatizing for her.
Absolutely.
Now,
So,
does she know that she only saw this because of Lure?
I don't know what she knows right now. I'm gonna need to sit down and think, because honestly, who knows what's going on in Sling's head? I really don't. So it's possible that she's thinking that this is all because of her racked up guilt. It's because of the law. I don't really know. I need to have an in-depth discussion with myself and find out.
And with how you dealt with Ari, I'd say you definitely had like a drive or a heritage or background, because you did look after someone against your own initial instincts.
Got you, girl. I've got you.
Not just that, but also the dealing with the whole issue with Clav of somebody who didn't deserve this.
Yes. Oh, there's so many things. Okay, hang on, wait.
So that's like 2 right there.
That was the 2. That's another 2 there. I'd say possibly as well with the trying to calm down Hocus and stop anybody from touching him.
Okay.
realizing that that's a bad touch, and we don't want that.
Right.
So that could be 3. So that's 5.
Well, so
Issues.
so for each of those bullet points, you can only get a maximum of 2.
Okay,
Right?
so that's 2.
Those are yeah, but
So
so there are
that's
plenty. There are
4.
plenty of examples there where you're just like you're going. I mean, there were so many little nuances to Sling. I think we also saw, like Sky, we saw another development of Sling of a side that we haven't actually seen before. So I love what was going on there. So
Cool.
I also am going to suggest that you definitely get at least 1 for struggling with your vice, because
The lore
in the lure-induced visions of everything that was going on, you were probably teetering on the edge of, I need to go take more drugs, kind of.
Yeah, I was like, I need that. This is not okay for me right now. I'm gonna need to take more drugs to forget that this happened. So as I say, 1 from that, would that put me at 5 overall?
That's correct.
Cool. I've leveled up again. Yay!
Woo!
Very
Ow!
cool.
Woo! I'm gonna
All right.
do some things.
Well, good job. And like I said, I loved Sling's character development was more subtle than Sky's, but it was still significant enough because of initially the attention to Ari, and then everything else that happened after that. All right, let's jump to Grin, who finally got into some combat.
Finally, and actually didn't roll, but I did have a desperate action, which I burned a Yami's crit on.
Absolutely.
So that's 1 there. And that specifically goes to prowess, right? Because it was a skirmish.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
You addressed a challenge with violence or coercion. Yep. I don't know if
Absolutely.
that's worth 1 or 2, but I took down those blue coats in barely a thought. Probably 1.
So your instinct to move, I think, is 1.
Oh,
like
cool.
your instinct to move because of the voices is 1, because
Yeah.
I mean you responded immediately and went after, and then the violence itself is definitely a separate event in my mind in respect to the way that would trigger. So yeah, it's definitely 2.
Okay, awesome. Beliefs, drives, heritage, or background. A hint of it, beliefs-wise, we've learned that he is very closed spiritually, that he has issue with the veil and with the supernatural, and a hint that perhaps there was something in his past which made him that way. Also, didn't really touch heritage, didn't really touch drives. A hint of his PTSD, just because of how he was handling that lack of control of the situation. I feel that's distinct from his inability to grasp the supernatural. He does not like losing control that way. So when he heard the blue coats, that was most definitely an opportunity to take back control, because, and we'll get to the 4th point, he was drinking a lot.
Okay, so that sounds like 2 for your beliefs, drives, heritage, at least. I mean, you had at least 2 events that happened, so it's 2 XP there, and then it's definitely at least 1 for dealing with your vice struggling with your vice while you were dealing with all of these circumstances that were going on.
Yeah. So 1 for my vice.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's 5 for you, correct?
6 total.
Oh, okay, excellent.
1 desperate, 2 for the violence, 2 for beliefs and background, and then 1 for the drink.
Okay, excellent. Good job.
Awesome.
All right, now on to who essentially the man of the hour, Hocus. How many desperate rolls did you have?
Yeah, whatever. God damn it. Just the 1, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so just the 1, which was the roll between Hocus and Sky, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and that was finesse or skirmish?
Skirmish.
Okay, so that goes into prowess then. Like you get 1 XP in prowess.
Hard time.
All right, and then so for your addressing a situation with knowledge or paranormal, I believe is what it is, right?
Yeah.
I think there's at least examples of at least 2 cases,
You
right?
can only get 2, so yeah.
Well, but it's still worth highlighting, the various elements. I mean, there were so many things that Hocus did this time, but from a point perspective, yeah, it seems like you did at least 2 events, so you're going to get 2.
Are those specifically for resolve because they were attunement stuff?
No. Those are you challenge with knowledge or arcane power. Those can go anywhere you want.
Okay.
So you can drop them in the playbook advancement, or you can drop them in any one of the attributes.
And that's 2.
That's 2, because in my mind there was at least 2 attune roll, or there was 1 attune roll, and then there was other circumstances with which you approach the situation such that it was either knowledge or arcane power, right? So it's at least 2.
Okay.
All right. So it's at least 2 event or 2 triggers, which means you get 2 XP. Okay. Express your beliefs derives heritage or background.
Yeah, probably.
You think 2?
Here and there, yeah, probably, yeah.
Once or twice, maybe.
No, I don't think so. I don't.
Nah,
Really?
it's
No?
debatable.
No.
No, I'd say strong no.
So I'm hearing yet again 2 XP.
Okay.
All right. And struggle with your vice or trauma.
Oh yeah.
Again, not so sure. I don't think so.
Up for debate.
Well, did
no.
you? What was your vice's meditation, right? You didn't actually have to struggle with that really at all, did you?
Wait. No.
He had to struggle with. So for him, as I understand it, the vice is all about keeping. It's a physical act to keep him in control, basically reducing his stress, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the triggers that he has are related to, as his character background is described, are related to the violence that happens, the violent nature that is paranormal and the spiritual and that kind of a thing. In the same way that you were dealing with, struggling with, and also just immediately jumping to something that is directly related to your vice by attuning to the ghost field because you knew something was going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the same way, it's not like a 1-for-1. In this case, it's more interpretive. But I think that Hocus faced issues that are directly related to him keeping his calm multiple times throughout the session. So he doesn't always face those types of things, which is why it doesn't trigger. But there was a heavy amount of paranormal here. So at least once, when dealing with, the act of bringing Clav over from that in between state into the spiritual state, and then the second one would definitely be him dealing with, the visual element of the demon, or the interpreted element of the demon coming from the well. So, to me, again, that sounds like 2. Does anybody? I mean, this is a discussion, guys. That it really comes from you guys on this. So if there's disagreement, then
No, I agree.
I agree.
Hocus his ass off today, so
Yeah.
Didn't
Pretty
realize
much.
it was a verb. All right.
all right. So that's 2 for Hocus, coming from the struggling with vice. All right. So with that, we're done with individual XP. What about crew XP?
Can we get points for friendship?
there was a lot of
There's
loyalty
a lot
going
of
on.
friendship, camaraderie.
Um,
It's almost as if we all listened to my song from the beginning.
Be friends.
It looks like we are friends. It looks like we are friends.
all right, so
Thanks
we
to
did
PG Tips.
we did nothing involving smuggling.
Bringing crews together.
We smuggled
Um,
friendship.
We smuggled friendship. I mean, we used our
And love.
goats
And hugs.
We-
And rainbows.
We
And
did
ghosts.
for
We
for
smuggled a
swift
ghost
transportation.
from Donovan's to the Spirit Well.
This is kind of true. We smuggled a ghost
Smuggled a ghost.
from Donovan's to the well.
I would argue more that you acquired a new client versus smuggled him somewhere. But
I think
I'm gonna give you
both.
one-
I think
I'm
we
gonna give you one
acquired
XP
him.
there for
And
that.
we smuggled.
Okay.
We also smuggled Hocus away from the scene at the end.
You did do that, yes. But you
And
weren't
we
smuggling-
become people smugglers.
kind of Ari,
It's
like she
all
became
smuggling.
a willing
So
smuggler.
I'm hearing 3 points.
Okay, so continue challenges above your current station.
I think, yeah.
we dealt with the blue
Freaking
coats.
demon. No.
Grin did deal with the blue coats, absolutely. So
he
that's
did.
definitely one XP there.
I'd say the demon thing as well.
Yeah, I mean,
Potentially
the
a bit
well
more than
seems
we're
like
ready for.
No,
It
okay.
doesn't quite work that way. Although it would be funny to be able to argue if Shroud was actually a tier above you, you could actually argue that you were contending with a situation that
Well,
they
Mhm.
they're not, because they suck.
Well, they are.
So do we, because we're on the same level.
You're on the same level now. So
Now we are.
Yeah,
Now
but
who got
we're
there?
so much closer to being better than them.
first.
Yeah.
Mike.
Mike.
Catch up.
We love you, Shroud. We love you.
Speedrun 6 and 20. Let's go.
bolster crew's reputation or develop a new one. I don't think
Probably not.
We've bolstered our friendship reputation.
You
But I
dealt
can't read people.
goals, heritage, goals, drives, inner conflict, or essential nature.
That's
Oh,
a-
inner
yes,
conflict.
Inner conflict, yes.
We helped
over-
resolve some inner conflict today.
Yeah.
You also dealt with the fact that, well, and this isn't obvious based on what happened today, but there was a lot of moves that were made towards Sky
Mhm.
directly in the last couple of sessions, and regardless of all of that, the crew came together and did some things, right? So that's actually addressing the inner conflict that's going on and working together as a team regardless of that conflict.
Mhm.
So I could honestly see
Suck
an
it, Raymond. Sorry. Go ahead.
But still, we love you guys.
All right, so I think there's one XP for that there. It's unless you guys can think of an additional example, and then maybe 2.
I mean, I think there's the working together despite the fact that there was the Shroud working against us, despite the fact that there was a body left on our doorstep. And then there's also the fact that the inner conflict that the crew has, like about, you know, the ghost contracts and such, the fact that Ari reached out and grabbed my hand, and, you know, was basically asking me not to betray her. I think that kind of plays into it as well. Also, inner conflict, we had a contested role.
Mm.
Fair enough.
Mhm.
Fair enough.
All right, so that's 2 for that.
That's
We
2 for
are-
that.
Because
That's
yeah,
the
at the
worst.
end of the day, there was a lot of like, "Hey, Sky, like, do this
Do
for
this.
us."
Do
And then
it.
there was a lot of like Ari going like, "Hey, guys, guys,
Guys.
I'm having
Hey,
a
you
moment.
guys.
Yeah, I love you guys. I love you
Oh
guys.
my
so
god,
much.
guys. I just love you so
Oh my
much.
god.
Oh, remind me not to give you. Oh, I have to.
Aha.
Ah.
I'm gonna need more drugs.
So that sounds like 4 XP altogether for the crew. So excellent job, guys.
Mhm.
And now we turn it back over to Speedy.
Yeah, this has been fantastic. Another great session. I don't know how we managed to just like never get to the mechanically planned out parts of the game. We're like, before it was like, yeah, okay, we're gonna do downtime real quick and get to a score. Then it's like, okay, well we made it to free action. Then it's like, okay, we just kind of did downtime. Now we didn't quite make it to downtime. So we're just
This has been an
worse.
entanglement for 3 hours.
right. Not that I'm complaining, because it
No.
honestly
We've
like
come so far.
that's
as a
that's part of
team.
why I
In
love
the end, it
I love
doesn't
Blades.
matter.
I'll be there
Oh,
for
God.
you
Oh, God.
Oh.
when the ghosts start to
Friends.
fall.
When did this become karaoke in the dark?
Listen, this is 6 and 20 the musical.
Do not tempt me. There are many demons in this world.
I
and
am
what
tempting you.
From Buffy
Alright.
the Vampire Slayer. That
Uh-huh.
awesome musical
Yes,
demon.
yes, yes,
So
yes.
do not tempt me. I love that episode.
Yeah.
Listen, we are having
right.
season finale is going to be a musical.
There are enough
Whether you
musical
like it or
people
not,
in
I
this
am
game.
coming on here and I am singing.
We were talking
everything.
before about Ari possibly doing like a song in
Yeah.
remembrance of
I was
Clave.
preparing songs. I think in the end we settled on the like
The spider.
"Home is behind the world ahead." And we were going to go into that, but then I just impromptu brought out the like itsy bitsy spider
Weirdo
song.
Oh
The
my
vaguely
God.
threatening.
Man.
That was so good. So good.
I
need
was
to-
like, everybody's doing shit. I'm going to write a song.
I'm gonna be a spider.
And that's why I asked, like, oh, he's a spider. Is that correct? The like, what class is he again? So yeah, itsy bitsy spider came out as
Nice.
I'm poisoning him with figs.
It was fantastic.
And for those of you who don't know, the particular episode of Buffy that they're talking about is called Once More with Feeling. Go and watch it.
Episode,
Yes.
or sorry, season 6, episode 8.
wow.
No, I love. This is a house of musicals. I live in a house of musicals. In fact, we're going to see Hamilton on Saturday. I'm so.
Oh my
fucking-
God.
So, but yeah, it's such a phenomenal episode, and it's like we were watching Dr. Horrible just a couple days ago, just to
I love.
Yay.
and it's like I love what Joss Whedon does with the way he conveys musicals. But anyways, yeah. So I would be more.
So that's confirmed. Season finale musical. Okay, good.
Yeah,
Either
now
that
it's really
or
cool.
I'll
That would be a
message
fantastic
Mike
one.
Silent.
right now. I'm gonna message him right now.
Is it-
And be like, by the way,
Is it possible to do a musical improv entirely?
No, what
Yes.
we have to do.
No,
One crew-
Sky, don't do that. Like, you just end up like,
I have a gun.
hey, you stab the moon.
One crew has,
Smile.
Oh,
one crew has
Sky,
to do Once More
why
with
did
Feeling.
you
The other crew has to do
kill
Hush.
moon.
So
Hush. Yes, hush. Oh my God.
Oh, oh my God!
Johnny's
Right,
face.
it'll be like in Les Mis, that scene between Javert, right, and Sean, like, Phantom, at last we see each other here.
Speedy, you want to wrap us up here before we go another hour?
I'm just gonna.
We don't get to do that. Mike, he actually told me once.
24601.
So this is definitely happening in some way, shape, or form. We are making this all happen. Guarantee it. All right.
God.
And also, you broke me with Hush. But now, Speedy, please go.
Okay. Let's do our wrap ups. Let's everyone hooks plugs Trendane. You start.
I'm Trendane on Twitter, there. And Saturday, I mean, first of all, happy birthday to Matthew Mercer. Today's his birthday. Woo! And if you don't know who he is, get the hell out of this channel.
I've never watched
second,
Critical Role.
on Saturday, July 1st, is when Beyond Skyrim Bruma is finally released. So keep your eyes out for that. Okay. Miss Madame Gandalf. That's kind of redundant, but still.
I'm MadameGandalf, full-time streamer here on Twitch. I'll be doing a cooking show in about 2 hours or 3 hours. In about 3 hours, and yeah, thank you so much for coming in and witnessing me cry, not literally emotionally, but roleplay emotionally. I'm going to kind of try and play it off as I'm cool, guys. It's fine. I have felt no emotions IRL about Clav. And you can catch me on Twitter, Twitch, and all the other things as MadameGandalf. And I'm going to pass it on to Owlbare over here.
Hi. This was a fun episode. Yeah, I'm Owlbare. You can find me on Twitter and hopefully more on Twitch. I love this fucking game. This game is crazy. And I love my crew. And I even love the Shroud. Yeah.
Fuck the cook anyway.
Tolerate.
Tolerant, yeah. But no, seriously, Mike, Nix's actions at the end of yesterday gave us this whole freaking episode. 3 hours of Clev and amazing performances from everyone. I love this, and I'm so pleased to be here. And I will pass it to Lulu.
Oh, that's me. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lulu, otherwise known as Louise, and you can find me more on the Twitter land at No More, No Less, and also here on Twitch at AccidentalLegend, where I stream all the time, and it's really great fun. But my goodness gracious, golly gosh me, this episode has just been wow. Wow. You know what? We win in friendship. Even if we don't win the season, we've won here today. And yeah, just thanks to I have no words, but I think you understand that I'm trying to say thanks to everyone that's involved. Phantom, Shroud, chat, you're all bloody fantastic. Also, buy the merch.
Hashtag PG tips.
Hashtag PG tips. Hashtag buy the mug.
6 and 20. Hashtag PG tips.
Also follow us on Twitter at 6 and 20. We keep forgetting about that.
That's true. We have our own Twitter account. It's at the number 620 blades. 6 and 20 was taken by some account that doesn't do anything, and we can't do anything about it. So that's what we have.
Did you email them about that? We need to email them.
I looked up the policies on it. They apparently don't do it unless you have a copyright.
Well, it's copyright.
Or a trademark. We don't have that.
We can.
We don't have.
We're on the way to a TM.
Yeah, we're on the way to
we have a trademark out there. We can probably make a claim.
Also, I said the Twitter wrong. It's Blade 620, not 620 Blades.
So we're on our way to a PG Tip sponsorship, so I think that will give us a good.
Yeah.
So
everyone, make sure
that you tag PG Tips.
Yeah, go on Twitter, be like 6 and 20 was amazing. Hashtag PG Tips sponsor us. Hashtag
PG Tips
at PG Tips. Hashtag sponsor us. Hashtag PG Tips sponsor.
They are going to block the living shit.
Because at the end of the day, at the end of the day, I don't know about the rest of you guys who do drink tea, but my favorite form of tea genuinely is PG Tips, and I think a lot of Brits can kind of somewhat agree to that
as resident Brit,
and it is in fact the name of our boat.
I'm here in Britain.
By popular demand.
You are a traitor.
Right, but you've got 2 immigrants and 1 genuine Brit.
Yeah,
so
I'm the real deal. Take me or leave me, America.
This is the most British crew.
I've been told several times that I'm an honorary Canadian. Does that net me anything?
Yeah, that totally means something. I'm with it.
I'm just American.
Also, hashtag goats.
Hashtag goats.
No, what the tips.
Hashtag goats. Hashtag what the tips.
Also,
at PG
Jinx,
tips.
go to the hype for next episode.
Jinx, go to for hype. Oh God, we'll get to him eventually.
You'll be there.
Oh yes.
God.
So
I won't even share how awesome something just got messages to me about. I'm not even gonna say who messaged it to me. But during the show, somebody messaged me about Jinx Godefur, and it was amazing.
Did they really? Can I know? Because I wrote him, please.
Like, can I ask who?
We will.
Was it someone from one of the crews?
Huh?
Was it
someone from the show, or
it was someone from Phantom?
Huh.
We'll discuss this in
Well,
private.
I know who it is.
know who
Everyone
it
who is
might
confused.
based on the facial expression.
Everyone said "huh" except for one person.
Yeah. Who just went, a delayed her might work.
Anyways, Johnny, will let you say your bit too.
Yeah.
Yes, Johnny.
Now that we're approaching the hour of midnight.
This always happens.
Hi, I am Johnny. I run the VideoStoreCowboy channel. You can find all my social media stuff on there. I'm also the GM of this crazy thing that we are calling 6 and 20 in this absolute madness that is now apparently involving episodes where everybody is going to sing and episodes where people are going to cry. I thought, and I was looking forward to, because there was something in the works that was going to be a shindig type episode if you've ever seen Firefly. A dance, a ball.
Oh my God.
Now we're doing a musical and a Hush episode as well. This is getting kind of crazy. Maybe we could get sponsored by Joss Whedon or something. I don't know.
Hashtag Joss Whedon, hashtag PG Tips.
Yes, and him as well.
So with that,
at
again, my social
Broadway. Just do it all.
amazing tonight. Thank you very much. Again, this was a very different episode than or session or whatever than previous sessions, and it was just as amazing.
Yeah.
We got shocked last night by what Mike did with Nyx and the body and Clav, and now we're getting shocked by everything that's come up since, especially Hocus and that devil's bargain, huh? Are you sure that was important? That you really wanted to? Yeah, anyways. So thank you guys. I really appreciate it. It was a wonderful session. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Getting real sidetracked.
These two
This is
crews
great,
aren't
though.
coming together till season 3. You realize that? Right?
Yeah.
This rate.
Not anymore, yeah. But yeah, this has been awesome. I want to give a quick shout out to the people who subbed today, XP Knight and MadameGandalf. Thank you for subscribing. We have the subs
That name
now.
sounds familiar.
Yeah, never heard of him.
There's another one.
Also to all of the people who followed, we had 23 new followers today, so thank you and welcome everyone.
Congratulations, Speedy. That's awesome.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much. We passed 900. Let's make it to 1,000 by the end of the month. Let's go. What is it?
Before the end of the night, you mean? Right now.
Practically the same thing.
Imagine that.
But yeah, so we've got this is a collaboration between 3 channels. This is NotSoSpeedRuns, VideoStoreCowboy, and Unmade Gaming. Johnny VideoStoreCowboy is the DM over on both channels. If you were wondering where possibly this ghost came from today, why was there a dead body on our doorstep? You can find the answer to that by watching the Unmade Gaming channel, the Shroud crew. They were the ones who did this to us.
I've never
They're
heard of them.
Literally, none of this episode
Who?
could have happened without them doing that. Which means
crowd?
that all of this was pretty much entirely improv. Johnny didn't know this was going to happen until today or the end of last night. So
Welcome to my hell.
I'm literally going to say.
And can we just say, really
you make me
quickly, can we all, everybody here, everybody in chat, give a massive thank you to Johnny, because this is the third time he's done this this
Oh
week.
yeah.
Oh my god.
So
3 days in a row now,
round
yeah.
of applause. Because
Thank
this
you.
takes a lot out of us. I had no idea how much it must have taken out of you dealing with us.
yeah.
Are you?
for
Like, get a
9
job,
hours.
Johnny.
Yeah, no, it's you guys are amazing. You guys are absolutely amazing, and it is a lot of work, but it's worth every minute of it. And then I hear things like, "Oh, let's do Once More with Feeling. Oh, let's do Hush," and then I'm like,
It's all worth
"Oh, thank you."
Let's do a musical.
I would love a Hush episode. Can you imagine D&D where nobody actually gets to say anything, but we can all describe what our characters are doing,
Mhm.
but just like no action.
I take my gun.
I've never done that before. That sounds amazing. Yeah, that'll maybe be a thing at some point.
Maybe.
It's going to be a thing. I'm sorry,
This
it's going to be a
is-
thing.
well, it's
Listen, Johnny, you're the
Here's the
DM. You get to
for
decide whether or not it's a
donation
thing.
What I really want more than anything is like a West Side Story moment where the Shroud and Phantom are like finger clicking towards each other. And that's the first time they meet. That's all I
I
want.
am entirely anticipating that. That is actually what I have always envisioned for the finale. Actually,
So,
no.
We're
Save
gonna
it
do
for
that.
TwitchCon.
Do you remember the moment where
Live
Cloud
action.
screamed? That's what it'll be like if I try to sing. You better have me in the Hush episode.
This is already clicking. Like when I get found out by Nyx, which is going to happen next week. Let's be honest, I'm done. I'm just going to be
Fine.
like,
Bro, you can do like spoken word
Trent?
poetry and just snap. It'll be perfect.
Do you like hip hop?
Well, I like electro swing. I think I've demonstrated that. I like it a little bit. But personally, classical. I like classical orchestral
Okay.
music.
yeah, we got one of the classical
no
music.
singers. Okay, so you can. Do you play anything? Do you play any instruments?
Not anymore.
What did
I
you
used
used to play?
I used to play the cornet, concert bass drum, chimes. Hi, Lisa. Not like that. Not like this. No. auxiliary percussion and cornet, basically.
All right, so bring your drums on.
It has
for the
been. I
next-
have no drums. I have no cornet, and it has been almost 30 years since I've touched either of them. So no.
Yeah, soon.
Technically speaking, you were only about 35 miles from me. I do have a drum set. I will bring you a
Well,
drum
there
set.
we go. We're sorted.
Do you want it to still
Boom.
be intact?
Tune in for our musical.
Anyways,
Anyway,
we need to wrap things up here.
Long since. Yeah.
We've been having like a Q&A for like half an hour.
Jesus Christ. Remember when the show was supposed to last 3 hours?
That was a pipe
Remember
dream,
those
and you know
days?
it.
Okay, we're gonna end things off here with a little bit of a raid, and we're gonna go show some love over to let's go show some love over to our friend the great Haley. She's a fantastic streamer. She's usually a member of the cast that we have on Mondays for our D&D series Dungeon Runners. Unfortunately, she just had to step back from that, so we had a very emotional farewell for her, as the players also were inadvertently responsible for the deaths of dozens of innocent people. It was great.
That's
so
one way to introduce a person. Like,
yeah,
Here's my friend. She's a murderer.
she didn't do anything.
Haley
Okay,
is great, then.
it's
Haley is
entirely
lovely.
Ishman's fault that everyone died.
It's always Ishman's fault. Let's be
It's
real.
always Ishman's fault. Yeah, we're gonna go send her a raid. You can follow that link right there. Copy paste, not so speed raid, and go show her some love. Thank you guys for coming out here and everything. This has been fantastic. We will see you all next time, and as always, don't forget to take it slow. Bye.
Oh my goodness. Golly gosh, greatness me.
what an episode! What,
What
a
a
show!
day.
all right.
Day.
One day we'll end this on time. I hope
will be
not,
right
though.
back.